right on time. Hello and welcome to the Nen Show Podcast. That opening was probably a joke because I don't know if I'm actually going to get this edited on time, like by Friday or whatever, Thursday, whenever I usually have it uploaded, because I have work. This is your host, Craftsdwarf, trying not to keel over, and the co-host, as usual, Mathwiz. Say hello, Mathwiz.
Last time I tried to make a joke, and it wasn't even like a bad, funny joke. It was just an unfunny, terrible joke. So I'm going to try to be better this time. I'm going to try to kick it up another gear.
Damn it, Mathwiz. Oh my god. Okay, comments. Do you have any comments to respond to? I have a couple this time. I actually read them.
I have one. Where did it go? I already replied to it in the comments, but I did want to address it as well in the podcast itself, because I was kind of incorrect with something I said last time. In the SBS, there was, it was right before chapter 267, in regards to, is Oda not religious? That was exactly how he phrased it how it was phrased in the SBS, which I don't know, maybe could be like a different in translation, but it was, the quote was specifically that he was not religious, not like atheist or any specific term. It just said not religious.
So, and you can even be both. Like you could be a theist agnostic or an atheist agnostic. So, from my understanding, at least, because I guess agnostics don't believe we can find out, but you can still decide whether or not there's God, even if we don't know which God or which scientific way the universe was formed. It's silly. Anyway, my first comment. Zmod was talking about the anime. I forgot. Kind of didn't mention it last time, but the anime kind of like and I probably should have, considering this the Davy Backfight does have like a negative reputation, and I forgot to mention because a big part of that is probably the anime, because they doubled the length of the arc in that they added 3 more games. Like how they did it was like, the race happened, and then they did 2 more games instead, so it ended up with like, the Straw Hats like had less members, and then so they challenged them to another 3-coin game, and that one sort of righted everything, and it went back to normal, and there were some other shenanigans go on. Then they didn't actually meet Aokiji on the island. They went to a separate island, and Foxy was still attacking them just randomly, trying to get his revenge. And then they met Aokiji, so it's like it doesn't even like that. So I guess the ideas of the crew splitting up are still there, but it doesn't have the important Aokiji follow up, which it just seems separate. So it's like they completely like just changed so much that it just kind of like, if people say that Davy Backfight seems like filler, they probably saw the anime, because the anime makes it even less like, important, and it already wasn't like majorly important. Like it sets up some of the ideas, and the Aokiji stuff is super important, but like the anime makes it even worse. So I didn't really go into detail on that, but yeah, because I've seen it. I've seen that after having read the manga. I don't even think the other games were even that good. Like, so if you were disengaged from the manga, the anime would have killed you. Did you have any more, or?
When I know I had also heard, I forget if it was in a comment or if it was like someone messaging me on Discord or whatever, but like it was
the
also
G8
like
arc.
I have gotten people asking me about that one anime filler arc. So apparently, like the way it followed up, it was like
happened,
the
and
filler
that
felt
like
like canon, and the canon that felt like filler.
Into that arc. Then G8 happened, and it was actually a good filler arc. Then Davy Backfight happened, which it seemed like a filler arc because so it's like, yeah, if you watch the anime, you could see G8 as being better than the surrounding stuff. So, and I guess I'm also kind of curious of your thoughts about it. It's 10 episodes. That's kind of a watch, but like, and I do want to rewatch it at some point, but it's like, I can't justify it right now. But yeah, it's because I get the premise. I might have mentioned it before, but the premise is that after Skypiea, they land in the middle of a marine base, and they have to escape and go undercover. So it's lots of goofy shenanigans come from that. That's the filler arc, and yeah, it's a fun idea. But I haven't seen it in fucking over a decade, so don't ask me what I think about it. I'm pretty sure I liked it. So yeah, Holken Perez asked if I was leaving the podcast like cliffhangers on purpose. The answer is yes, because like...
The answer is yes. Craftsdwarf is leaving the podcast, and it's just me from now on.
No, not like that. Like, obviously, like, we ended here on... Like, honestly, like, actually, And like emotionally for me, like the perfect endpoint is actually 398 because like it fucking destroys me, and I didn't like I was trying to finish before I went to work because not yesterday but the other day because because I had a long like a back-to-back work shift kind of thing, so I basically like went home after that work shift and then got up and then went straight back to work. And so I knew I was going to be tired yesterday and not want to do the reading. So yeah, 398 destroyed me. And then I had to read 399 right after. But 399 is like the better ending to this stretch of chapters, I think, because it wraps up the blueprint stuff. And then it sets up right into the next stuff. So like that was the perfect place to end it. But yeah, it was on the cliffhangers. So, but yes, it was very deliberate where I planned like the ending to the last stretch episodes, like, maybe I could have done that a little better, but it was fine, I guess. This one was definitely perfect, though. So, yes, and I am also ending on cliffhangers, like maybe Mathwiz will want to do the podcast a little faster. Want to read One Piece faster. I don't know. But I guess actually, since I did mention that, scheduling things came up. So, and the next episode will be next week, because we gotta... I have to, at least, because I wouldn't be able to record on the normal day. So yeah.
No, neither would I. So it's good that we're just moving it up.
Yes. It's also kind of amusing that stuff came up for you and stuff came up for me at the same time. So it's perfect. I figured it'd be better to move it up than to move it back because it's like now we get part 2 out of 3, and then next time we get 3 out of 3, and then 2 weeks. So it's just we get it all bunched up together. Though it is a long stretch of chapters. It's like 100 chapters total, I think, for between the two. Anyway, I have one more comment. Do you have any more comments?
I have no more comments.
Okay.
I only had the one.
Okay, because last time I was like talking about how there's like no good One Piece videos, pretty much, except for like mine and Mr. Morge's, and even then, like I have like one good one and maybe like one okay one, like a couple okay ones that I'm not satisfied with anymore. And so someone was like, "You don't make any One Piece videos," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know," because it's like I want to, but like okay, work is taking up a lot of time. I decided to start a really large YouTube project before I decided to before I got my job, and I have made like so little progress on it because it's really big, and also just trying to tackle it is just like, and then before I even get to the One Piece videos, because I have a bunch of those in mind, like around 10 or just from the reread, like, and some stuff I still need to reread, which means there could be more videos in mind, but I have to make other videos before I get to certain videos of those, and it's like, I want to make videos, I just can't, basically. So yeah. Anyway, also, someone linked a post with some One Piece analysis that was really fucking long, and I didn't read it. I'll read it eventually, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I forget who posted it because I didn't write it down. Anyway, that's all my comments. Okay, ready to get into discussion?
Yeah.
So, where we last left off, Robin has ditched the crew. Zoro's wondering if they should even, they need to figure out whether she's a friend or enemy. And they started to do some planning, so they're going to strategize. And they figure they're going to wait. The only way the situation can get worse if Iceberg actually dies. So they decide to try and intercept Robin at wherever if she attacks Iceberg again. Also there's a moment of Usopp getting lumber and stuff from the. I like how the guy is just like Usopp's he's so determined but so helpless. He's Moe, and so the guy helps him. So, and gets like emotionally invested. Like at the end, he's like, "Wait a minute!" He's like, "Take care of yourself." It's just, I don't know. It's fun. But yeah, lots of just sort of like Aqua Laguna's coming. Everyone's sort of getting ready. Shit's going down everywhere. Iceberg's well defended by his shipwrights. Oh, Frankie's putting out feelers because he wants to fight the Straw Hats. Did you have anything else to say or anything to say on the setup? Or should we just get into the actual like shit happening?
Yeah, honestly, now that I know what the big twist is, like going back and looking at this stuff is like, wow, this is different.
Yeah, no, it like, well, there's a couple points, earlier things from the last reading that I want to point out. Well, one in particular, they kind of allude to it this stretch of chapters, but we'll get to it. So anyway, so yeah, CP9 attacks. There's an explosion, and, you know, a bunch of masked people and Robin are attacking. Polly was told to get something by Iceberg, which turns out to be the fake blueprints. Also, we get foreshadowing towards, like, later we get them in more detail, but the 6 forms, or... See, this is... So, we're not quite to the point where I started reading weekly, but this is the arc that was ongoing when I was getting into the manga, so I mostly had fan translations. So, the weeb terms are the ones that are in my brain from this arc. Like, I've tried a lot to remove the, like, and you'll still see that with a lot of fans, like, a lot of people will still refer to the warlords as the Shichibukai, or the, and stuff like that, because they know the Japanese terms, because those were the ones that were fan translated, because fans don't like translating things if they don't have to, and just weird foreign Japanese words like Nakama and Shichibukai, they sound cool. So I know the 6 forms by their Japanese names better than their English ones, because in Japanese it's the Rokushiki, so, like, you see her doing the Geppo, the moonwalk, and stuff. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that, because, yeah, it's one of those things. But anyway, Robin sneaks into Iceberg's manor, and they immediately just fucking shoot him. Fucking... Oh yeah, and then, hold on, did we already pass it? No, not yet. Okay. Oh yeah, there it is. Kaku and Lucci are dead. So anyway, we get a conversation between Robin and Iceberg that, sort of setting up, like, a lot of the ideas between... Like, I really liked how, like, Iceberg and his backstory with Frankie and Robin and her backstory sort of set up, like, all these ideas that are sort of in conflict. Some of them are in conflict with each other, you know, because, like, Iceberg has the belief that, you know, a weapon that exists will be used, and Robin has the potential to activate that weapon, therefore the weapon is likely to be used, so he's against her existence. But as Frankie says later, you know, it's not wrong to exist. Like, there's a part...
Yeah, that was definitely the aspect of the arc that, like, so it wasn't really until the Frankie flashback that I really, like, that to me was what, like, changed the whole thing, because, like, in other arcs, I've been kind of struggling, like, you've been pointing out, like, the themes or whatever of the arc, and I've been kind of struggling to pick up on them. But this one was kind of blatantly obvious. Like, when the flashback happened, I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. And then the way it got, like, flipped on its head later with Robin, and, like, it's very good. Very good stuff.
Because we'll definitely talk about that later, and I'm curious if you have other points to say. But, like, yeah, because it is, you know, this is, like, the part where she's, like, because, you know, he's talking about the demons of Ohara, and she gets pissed, and she's like, what do you know about Ohara? And it's just, like, thinking about, like, with me, I of course know all about Ohara, and it's just like, ooh. So, you, of course, didn't know much when you first read it, so. But anyway, Luffy gets unstuck, and then he gets restuck in the wall as he interjects into the scene. Then he gets restuck again when the Cypherful 9 captures him. But he does sort of, like, you know, figure shit out with Polly that, you know, they're not enemies, which is good. But then we get, see, this is one of those moments that I knew before I actually got to it, because my entry into the series was, like, awkward. So I knew exactly who the antagonists of the arc were and what they looked like before actually reading the full arc. So when fucking Cypherful 9 reveal themselves as, like, Lucci, Kaku, Khalifa, and Bluno, I'm like, when reading it, it's like, damn, this is probably really cool. Like, well, it's a fine reveal, but, like, what did you think about it? Because you told me in private that you were not aware of the reveals, so.
Yeah, I know of the, I mean, I guess it's a spoiler, but, like, I don't know if it's, well, like, Luffy you kind of expect it if you hadn't already...
Luffy already said he's going to fight... In this stretch of chapters, he said, Lucci's the strong one, I'm going to fight him. So the fact that they fight, I don't think is a big spoiler. So, yeah.
I had heard things about that fight. So, like, I knew it existed. Although I didn't recognize his, like... I don't know what else to call it other than, like, base form. Like, I didn't make the connection between that and his quote-unquote final form.
Right, because he's the leopard zone user, so that's his half animal, half human form. So, yeah, because, I mean, they have similar clothes, but Rob Lucci wasn't wearing those clothes up until this point. So, and like you said, that once you saw that, you're like, oh, it's that character. And, well, like, obviously there's, like, Hattori, like, well, because, like, Lucci is speaking through, like, a proxy, like, he's faking it, basically, and Kaku especially, like, there's one line, like, when he goes onto the ship with Zoro, and he's, like, and, you know, Zoro doesn't believe him about Mary's, being damaged, and Kaku says, "I don't lie about my work." He doesn't lie about his carpentry. He lies about his other things. So, and they kind of alluded that when they met, I think, or a bit. Oh yeah, because Zoro asked, were you being honest about the marry or not? And he's like, yeah, it was. The other two don't have that. Like, Bluno kind of was just a bartender dude, and Khalifa was a dorky secretary. But, yeah.
Yeah, the thing about, the reveal, with the bartender, that to me kind of just, he didn't... Because he hadn't really, interacted with any of the characters.
No,
he had only, talked to the train lady.
Yeah, Kokoro and Frankie.
So, when he was revealed, it was just kind of oh, okay. I don't know, it wasn't I'm blown away by this reveal, but it's okay, I mean, these characters, I can't imagine what else they would have done,
yeah.
So, it makes sense.
Yeah, see, I can't even imagine how I would have thought not knowing it, because I always knew it, so, it's definitely not Robin being on the ship, but, it's still, I don't know, I always think about it, but, I wonder.
Now, one question I had, maybe I'm just misremembering, but wasn't Crocodile looking for the Pluton, which is the thing
that was the ancient weapon that was, supposedly there was information on the poneglyph that's now buried in Alabasta. So yes, you are correct. Pluton is the ancient weapon. It's coming up again. Because, basically what, go on?
Well, I did like that kind of came up again, because when Iceberg said, I have the blueprints for the ancient weapon Pluton, it's it's the thing from before.
Yes. But yeah, we also find out their motive that they want, specifically it's Spandam who wants he wants the ancient weapon so that they could end the Great Age of Piracy. Though as we see, when we actually see Spandam talking to the elders, they're not as on board. They're well, get the blueprints. We'll figure out what to do with them later. Spandam's the one who's yeah, fucking use it. Use the ancient weapon. So, that'll bring up later. Oh yeah, and then we find out they do some detective work, even with the whole, lie detector on Iceberg, as they, piece together that, the blueprint, Iceberg doesn't have the blueprints, but there is someone else who could have them, who happens to be, Frankie. Sort of, locking a piece into place of the guy. Oh, I like how they, they said that, you guys have been, close to each other for 5 years, but always apart, so, there's no apparent connection, but then, there's so many opportunities you could have given the blueprints to him, so, yeah. And, of course, what a time for Luffy and Zoro to bust in.
Yeah, I like this big spread where, Luffy's popping in from one side and Zoro's from the other, and they're just wait, there's Luffy, and then Robin's wait, Luffy.
Yep, and then she told them not to follow her. Oh yeah, Lucci is such a fucking, when Polly comes in, he's what? How are you? He's in disbelief, and Lucci's I know this is sudden. Should I smash Iceberg's face to prove it? Jesus fuck, what an asshole. But yeah, Robin talks about, her wish that will not be fulfilled if she stays with the Straw Hats, which is her reason for abandoning him, which we find out later is her wish to save the Straw Hats so that they don't get destroyed by the government and the Buster Call. But going back to the Straw Hats sacrificing themselves, we talked about that with Nami and Vivi. It's always been women so far. But yeah, that's Robin's, she's going to sacrifice herself and let the ancient weapon potentially be reactivated so that the Straw Hats can be saved because she cares about them that much. So yeah. And then they get wrecked. Did you have any thoughts on that? Because they do explain it later, but I was wondering what you thought about it in the moment of Luffy and Zoro not really being able to stand up to these guys.
Yeah, it did feel a little weird, but I guess it kind of makes sense, as far as, because, they were a little distracted with Robin, Luffy was kind of fighting while also trying to make sure Robin didn't go away, and then when Luffy went after Robin, then Zoro got distracted, so, yeah. It was fine, I guess.
Well, Nami did explain it later, they're hesitant, because, Luffy's all about freedom, and Robin is, right in front of him making her choice, so to, try and force her back, that's the thing I noticed on the train, when, Sniper King kidnapped Robin, and Robin still went with Cyberpole, because I pointed out back in Davy Backfight that no outside force could, separate the crew. It was the crew inwardly had to separate itself, but that's also like the crew also can't like force itself back together. Like Robin, in order to join the crew, Robin has to choose to join the crew. Like they grabbed her, they had her, but she still rejected them. Like it wasn't enough. So shit, I had a point there. Yeah, but basically, so like, yeah, Luffy is all on freedom. So if he tried to force her back, like she wouldn't really be part of the crew. Like it wouldn't work. So and Nami was talking about later, like yeah, they're hesitant, and so they weren't fighting with all their, they weren't, with doubt behind their, fists. How could they use all their power? And you literally see that when Luffy is trapped between the building, and Nami tells him that, like, he's like, I'm stuck and I can't get out. And then Nami says, Robin sacrificed herself to save us. And then suddenly Luffy can break out because now there's strength behind his fist. There's Robin, has a reason, like, she does care about them. She's not like cutting them off. Like, yeah. So it's just, motive and determination. Like, if there's doubt, then there's no will so it's fine. But the power scaling, I don't know.
Yeah, there was the one panel with Nami where this is way ahead now, but when she's talking with Iceberg and there's just the shot of her saying, "Now that we know she needs to be saved, our strength will be infinite." That felt like I can't think of another quote that like had, I don't know, this feels like one of those distinct things that like you look back on it and think, yeah, that's One Piece.
Yes.
But I can't think of a parallel at the moment. Like, what was another big dialogue thing that's like, yeah, I don't know, like, something about the dreams never end or whatever. This, I mean, it's not a full page thing, but it still kind of feels iconic.
Yeah, that's interesting that I came away thinking that, because I only just kind of remembered that from reading. Like, it's not something that comes to my mind a lot, but it's definitely to help his comrades goes above everything. So, but yeah, I kind of already summed up like exactly why the Straw Hats fails, but we see Lucci's power, his devil fruit, and he basically fucking wrecks house, and yeah, no one could do anything. He just fucking chucks them away and burns everything down as they go off to get the blueprints from Frankie. Oh yeah, and I like how like things are tied together as like the Frankie family looking for the Straw Hats in turn informs Cypherpole 9 of where Frankie is. So that was nice. Just good planning. And then oh yeah, and so this is, and then we get stuff with Frankie and Usopp, which I almost forgot about it. Like, I had to think about it last time when Frankie was, like, beating up Usopp and having his family beat the shit out of Usopp. And it's like, because these guys work together later. So I'm just thinking, like, where's the hard feelings? But I forgot about this scene where you have, like, even right before it, you have Zambini. He's like, oh, yeah, Frankie's probably torturing Usopp right now. But then, no, they're just getting along and being dorks. And Frankie's emotionally connected.
Yeah, it's interesting how it all kind of like influences each other because like the thing, like Frankie wasn't, like, he was able to sort of sympathize with Usopp because he was no longer a Straw Hat, but the reason why he's no longer a Straw Hat
like,
is
I love
because
the bit
Frankie.
where he's
so,
like, it's kind of like where he's like
feeds itself.
Sure, I took your money, but it's not like it was, it was just one-sided. Like, don't forget, you destroyed my home and beat the shit out of my family. You fuckers, I'm gonna pay off. And like, he's getting pissed. He gets pissed off and he starts screaming. Like, I love that panel. He's just so mad all of a sudden. Like, just the juxtaposition. Like, cause first he's like chilling. He's like, there's like a little exo there. Like, yeah, it happens. And then he's just suddenly pissed off. Oh man. But yeah, ultimately they do let bygones be bygones. Like, Frankie even offers like, hey, join me instead. And Usopp's like, no. They're cool. Fights just, people just, fight and, like, destroy things, and it just happens in this world, but they're still able to, like, get along after. That's fine. And we also get some more exposition on Aqua Laguna, some build-up to the flashback. And then we get something I forgot about last time, because, like, I was talking about how, like, Usopp's just kind of, like, wrong. Like, the ship it's not able to sail. Like, they can't rely on that thing. But then Usopp was talking about how, like, it has... he was talking about the spirit he saw on Skypiea fixing up the ship. So we got that coming back. And... Because he wants to sail the ship back to the East Blue, and Frankie's like, oh, hell no. But Usopp did know that the Mary... Like, he's not into... He's still attached to the ship because it's got, like, something... There, like, he saw a spirit on it of the Mary, and he's kind of right. Maybe... Well, yeah. Did you have any thoughts on that, or?
Yeah, it was interesting that the Skypiea thing came back because it's something that like I was kind of forgetting about because it was just like, oh, that happened, but it was never commented on.
Yeah, it happened. It was something said it was weird. He noted about how the whoever repaired the ship knew about its original design because they took off the chicken stuff, and then now here it comes. Frankie knows more about it because he's a shipwright.
No, but I did think it was interesting that, like in Skypiea, it was kind of set up, and it just like nothing really came of it. So it's like, oh, okay, this was setting up something that just never paid off, I guess. But oh, wait, here it is.
Yeah. Because it ties. Usopp didn't he didn't want to get rid of the ship because there's like more to the ship than just the ship, but he couldn't just fucking explain it. So like, man, now thinking about Luffy versus Usopp now, like fucking, it must have been rough for him because it's like there's like he said, like the Mary is a comrade, but only he can see the comrade. So it's like he doesn't want to abandon something that the crew has no idea about. So ew, that's rough. Poor dude. But anyway, Cyberpole 9 arrives. They have business with Frankie. They fight for a bit, and they end up finding a back room in the Frankie's dock. And then, is there anything else before? Nope, that was pretty much it. We get the Frankie's flashback, and you said this was where you're starting to get invested in the ideas, at least.
Yeah, because before this point, I didn't I don't know. I guess before this point, a lot of the characters weren't really clicking with me. Like I didn't really care about Iceberg that much. I didn't really care about Frankie.
Yeah, well, it's because if you just look at this picture, like all these characters except Tom had appeared before, but now you're realizing like, oh, the frog that started the arc, Luffy wanted to eat that frog who was stopping the train, and Kokoro, and then Iceberg and Frankie, and then you read the flashback and it's all connected. Like, oh, that's why the frog was trying to stop the train. He was imitating Frankie. Old Lady Kokoro. That's why she has a connection with Iceberg because she was with Tom, and who was Tom, and Iceberg was apprentice to Tom. Like it all makes sense. Because it's like once you have the context of everything, it all makes it just explains everything. And another thing I like about this flashback is how normally with the flashbacks it'll focus on a brief time period. For Choppers it was over the course of a year. But what I like about Frankie's is that he ages through the flashback. Like there's stuff that happens when he's a kid, and there's stuff that happens when he's more of an adult, which is neat. And normally it's this stuff happens when they're a kid or whatever, and then it just sort of speeds up towards the present. Yeah. So I guess that's one thing I kind of liked about this flashback.
Yeah, compared to the Robin flashback where we get later, where it's just kind of an event that happens in the course of a day or two, and then it just kind of skips ahead.
Exactly. Or back Nami's was similar, where it was over a course of maybe a couple days at most, and then it speeds ahead after everything's done, and stuff like that. But this was a little different, and I kind of thought it was neat.
See, I guess looking back on it now, the first stretch that we read, the setup for, although I guess if this was split into arcs, there was a Water 7 and then the Enies lobby stuff, so maybe that makes sense. But the stuff we had read so far was just kind of the Usopp stuff helped make it feel weightier. I don't know how else to describe it. But this I wasn't super invested in the Water 7 characters. I was just kind of because I know Oda's style by this point. I was just kind of waiting for the shoe to drop, and
and here's a shoe dropping, I suppose. Yeah. Well, because I guess in retrospect, I maybe should have said it so that the first episode ended with well, no, I guess it still kind of worked, because it's the first one, it was, the sort of the splitting of the crew, so it starts off with Davy back fight, and then ends with, Robin saying she was going to leave, Usopp versus Luffy had happened. This stretch of chapters is kind of it's the blueprint, because it starts off, Cyberpole 9's invading, trying to get the blueprint, and it ends with Frankie destroying it. So it's So I guess I in retrospect, I actually do like where I set up the chapters. But yeah, there is, a bunch of setup, and 2 weeks in between reading that and reading this where it all clicks together. So it's if you'd binged it, you'd just been oh, okay, there it is. But yeah, we didn't get that last time. So, but yeah, I like how it starts up setting up the issue with Water 7, and how Well, it's like, it's neat because like the Age of Pirates like is killing this island. Like we've heard about the Age of Pirates, and we know pirates like usually aren't good, but here we are like seeing more of their effects of there being so much more piracy. And like, and it also gives weight to Tom's whole thing because he helped in a small way. He helped the person who started the Great Age of Piracy. So it's like, even though like, you know, he just built a ship, he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do any actual piracy, but you can kind of see how the emotions of the people might be against that. Because like, in a way, he helped Roger become Pirate King and start the Age of Piracy. That's killing this island. Like, Tom only has to make the sea train to save it because Roger, you know, but again, like, that's also part of the idea of the arc, is that a weapon that's built doesn't mean, or a weapon that exists isn't wrong for existing. You know, a creator should take pride in his creation, as he says. So, did you have anything to say on this earlier bit of with Tom setting up his desire to build the sea train?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure yet if this might end up being my favorite flashback. It's definitely one of the stronger ones I felt. Just because
okay, cool.
it feels so like thematically rich. Like, I'm sure that there was more going on before, but this was the stuff that I was able to click with pretty quickly. I like
great.
What was I saying? I liked the way, like, I like the way that Tom's, just the way the conflict sort of plays out. Like, he is, like, I guess how he could be branded as a criminal while also not, like, in the eyes of the people around him, not actually being a criminal. Because, like, as you said, he just made a ship, but it ended up assisting the Pirate King. So, like, it was kind of like the Nolan thing, where it was kind of just seeing how someone who, you know, became a criminal, or, you know, was
without having done
so
anything
depraved or whatever in the eyes of society, how it kind of, what the real story was behind it.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if the SBS has gotten to it at this point, but when you see the sea train ride, if you look at the crowd shots, you can see Polly, Kiwi, and Mozu. And Kiwi and Mozu are in the window of the train, yep. And Polly's there as a snot-nosed kid watching it go. So
yep, that was definitely in the SBS by this point.
Yes, gotcha. I wasn't sure.
But I guess overall, my thoughts on this flashback, to, I guess, basically just sum up my thoughts on the themes of this stretch of chapters we read. I love how it starts off.
Yes.
Like, it's obviously introduced with the idea that Tom made the ship that ended up being the ship for the, you know, Goldie Roger. So you get the introduction to, you know, I guess it even had kind of started before this, because Cypher Pole is going after the blueprint that what's his face has.
Well, because that's what go on.
Iceberg.
Yeah,
that's the name.
Because I'm interested in what you have to say.
But what I really like about this flashback, which kind of ties into what Oda had done in Skypiea with the way he sort of handled the religion elements at the end, you get a lot of different sides on this idea. So you obviously, you have Frankie, like, I mean, there's the stuff with Gold Roger's ship, but then you have the battle Frankies that Frankie made. So, you know, his little weapon ships. And then obviously it comes up later again with Robin, like, she is in a way another kind of weapon. So there's like all these different objects that can be looked at. Like, so there's multiple different cases of like, what is the destructive potential of a weapon? And then you have the different perspectives on it. So you have Tom, who says that, you know, there is no, you know, it's not wrong to just make a thing, because it you know, even if it has the potential for somebody to exploit it and use it for more nefarious, destructive purposes, like the thing itself does not, the thing itself is not, like, you are not, I guess, responsible for the damage done just because you made the thing. But then you do have, like, you see the negative aspect of that, where Frankie's ships end up you know, getting them into trouble later on, because the potential for destruction ends up, you know, becoming destruction. And so you have the perspective of Iceberg, who says that you know, we should get rid of these things because the potential is, you know, bad enough. Like, that there is any potential at all means that it is something that should be, suppressed or, done away with.
Right, they're both correct. Like Tom is right. Like a gun, guns don't kill people. People do. But Iceberg's also right that a gun that's made is probably going to be fired at some point. So it's like, yeah, it's like you said, there's two different perspectives, and we see, both of them are given their weight, and especially it's neat because you can see how they affect like the worldviews of the characters, like Iceberg's, disdain and fear of Robin because she couldn't, she's the one who can fire the weapon. So, and of course Frankie sort of, having that, because they kind of like both sort of like, or what was I gonna say? That's it. Frankie sort of like took from Tom his affinity for pirates because he's working with them now, and also but also his ideals regarding like things that are made, while Iceberg took sort of like Tom being like respected and skilled but didn't take his ideals because he disagrees, regarding like weapons and stuff. So it's like they both sort of took and different aspects of Tom, I guess, which is kind of neat, and natural because again, like doing to point out the family aspects again, Frankie doesn't have a blood relative, these guys aren't blood relatives, but they're basically family. Kokoro and Tom are even like mother-father figures to Iceberg and Frankie, who are basically brothers. So, yeah.
See, like I don't feel like I can give a full statement on, because obviously the arc is not over. So this is just the second act. This is just kind of. There's more to be expanded on with this idea, I feel, because like there's still a third part of the arc to go. It's like saying, when like, there was like a controversy with, just to kind of draw a parallel here, there was kind of like a controversy with the Team 4-Star episode 60 finale, when like they had this one character talk about like Gohan's pacifism or whatever, and kind of tearing that down, and people were like, oh, so you're saying pacifism is bad? But it was obviously like the first part in a 3-part thing where you see how that affects the character. So in relation to One Piece here, I feel like Tom, the shipbuilder, is kind of the, like, in stories like these, there's generally a character who is kind of like, I don't know, because like none of these characters are the protagonists, so you can't just easily point out like this is the supposed moral center, like this is the idea that the author really wants to get across here. I feel like Tom is the main point of what's the word? I feel like Tom is kind of the main idea that is trying to be carried across here, which I think, and again, because the arc's not over, I'm not entirely sure, but I think that would be interesting because in some ways I disagree with that. Like in some ways I side more with Iceberg. But then, like, there is also, like, Iceberg is also not entirely, like, I don't entirely agree with Iceberg either, because the way that he kind of takes this ideology and then attaches it to Robin, I don't really agree with that side of it, because, like, it's like looking at a weapon, like, the destructive potential of a weapon versus, like, the ability to, like, weaponize a person? How do I want to say this? Like, the destructive potential of a person versus the destructive potential of an object, a weapon. Which, like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't want to throw out the word nuance because, like, I don't know, because I feel like that's easily overused. But, like, in this context, I can't think of any other way to describe this because there's a lot of different perspectives being considered, and even then, those different perspectives are being applied in different contexts. So there's a lot to process here. And I hope I'm conveying my thoughts in a way that makes any sense.
I think I'm getting it. And it is a neat conversation, like happening within the characters and their actions and everything that's happening. So, yeah.
So I guess basically, like, what I was trying to say is, like, as I was reading this flashback, I was thinking that, like, this arc could be presenting an ideology that I don't entirely agree with. But even then, like, I still really have enjoyed the arc just because of the way it has presented everything. So, I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess on the, ideology you don't agree with, like, just because you don't agree with it doesn't necessarily make the story worse for that, as long as you can separate yourself from that, and sometimes you can't. Like, Your All in April spreads the thematic idea that abuse is just another form of love. And I fucking hate it for that. Yeah, but that's me.
Yeah, it's not that, like,
But
it's not, I mean, you basically said it, I'm just, cut this out.
but anyway, I also like how it sort of like folds out with Tom getting a stay of it. Like, well, he gets the because he made the C train, he gets to sort of waive one crime, and he decides to do the one today. So he leaves. Iceberg and Frankie get off basically for they haven't done anything wrong because the crime it doesn't exist anymore. But but Tom still has to be thrown in prison for Gold Roger. So.
And I did like the way that conflict was resolved in this flashback, because it's handled in a way that very much makes sense in the context of Tom's character. Like, yeah, of course he would, he would take the fall here because he, based on his ideology, he's proud that he made the ship. Like, even if it ended up being the ship that, kickstarted this like golden age of piracy, it's still his creation, and he's proud of his creations. He thinks a man should be proud of the stuff that they make. So, yeah, it makes sense that he would kind of take the fall.
Right. That's what I was going to... Frankie and Iceberg aren't, they didn't commit any crime. So why should they go to jail? Yeah, it's good. Though, of course, immediately after that, Frankie smashes Spandam across the face because he's pissed. I definitely have some things to say about Spandam. Spandam's definitely
Spandam
important
is
because it's also a conversation of power, especially
there's
later.
still the third part to go.
Because Spandam is specifically noted as not having any power.
To make
He's
on him
under
yet,
that
but...
of a normal Marine soldier, but he doesn't carry himself like that, and I definitely want to talk about that later.
There was...
I forgot about that line.
Well, I'll wait to... Well, there was even a point later where he even says, like, power could be seen as a kind of weapon, which I thought was very clearly tying into the theme of the arc, like everything applying to Robin and the ships and stuff like that. But in this flashback, it's kind of weird that he's basically the main antagonist of this arc. But
yeah, well, that's actually one thing this arc does differently because he's the boss. Like, Lucci's the strongest fighter in CP9, but Spandam is the boss, which is different for, Arlong, Eneru, Crocodile, all the strongest fighters have also been the boss. But this guy's an exception, So, yeah, it's different, and there's a point to it, too.
It kind of reminds me of, in a way, he's kind of portrayed like Walpole, only he doesn't have the strength of Walpole.
Right. Well, because Walpole was also, a shitty leader, but he was also still the strongest. He still had the most power and was the highest position, whereas Spandam doesn't have the most power, so yeah.
But, yeah, Walpole, I talked about it in Drum, that Walpole wasn't even really portrayed like much of a serious threat.
No,
with Spandam, he's very clearly not. Even in this flashback, he looks like a buffoon. He's getting buckets.
He's getting the shit kicked out of him by fucking everybody.
I mean, he's slipping, falling into the water. He's destroying himself.
Yeah, and he even he got the paint bucket, and then and it's funny he got smashed in the face twice, and then when we see him again, he's got a mask on because his face is broken.
Yeah, he looks like fucking Mankind, the pro wrestler.
Yeah,
he just got this mask.
Okay, I figured you'd catch on that reference because he does, I told you about last time with Eneru, he was inspired from Eminem. Oda does uses real life influences for his and Rob Lucci, I think, is Slash, the musician. So yeah, I figured of course you would pick up on the wrestling one. I forgot about that, but I thought about that while reading, and it's oh yeah, this is apparently a wrestler. But I imagine the wrestler is stronger, so...
I mean, I don't know if it was intentionally, a wrestling reference, but that's just, that's the mask I see.
I mean, even if it might have been Cryptomnesia, it might have seen it and, internalized it, and then, designing masks, and it's oh yeah, this one looks good, so, that happens.
Yeah, because even then, pro wrestling will take from certain things, so, maybe that's not even the origin.
Maybe. Well, and he's usually upfront about, if asked, he'll usually mention it in the SBS, there's some ones later on that I can think of, so, I think the Eminem one was directly said by him at some point, maybe an interview or something like that, if not the SBS, so, yeah, it happens, because he was talking, before about, Buggy the Clown's name. Originally, it was supposed to be Boogie, and he said that he saw a movie where that had another character called Boogie, and so he changed it. And I think he mentioned separately that he likes Nightmare Before Christmas, and there's a character in Nightmare Before Christmas called Boogie, and so yeah. But anyway, so yeah, Frankie rejects Tom's sentencing. He gets stopped by the C train, or he tries to stop the C train. He tries to reject. Fuck! It's a fucking symbolism. Because it's, basically he's trying to reject the power of the world government, but he doesn't have that power, so he gets destroyed and has to rebuild himself. And of course he comes back to the village, to Water 7, and he has a talk with Iceberg in the old hideout, in the old warehouse shipyard. And Iceberg gives off the blueprints, and also, but at the same time, like, even though he's still pissed off at Frankie, he's still glad he's alive. So you get that little moment. It's of Iceberg, because this is why I was really surprised when I was rereading the last stretch of chapters, because I forgot how goofy Iceberg was when he was introduced, because he's not like that throughout the rest of the arc or the flashback. Yeah. He's such a serious character 90% of the time that when I read those opening chapters of introducing Iceberg, he's just really goofy, and that's the only time in the manga I remember him being like that. And it's so weird, because he's like, I don't want to go to meetings, but now he's other than that, he's just such a serious character. It's weird.
Yeah, in a way, he almost feels like a totally different character from what we saw before.
I'm wondering if maybe Oda hadn't figured out his personality when he started writing his character, and then so that those extraneous kind of goofy elements kind of fell away. So, which I think is fine, but it definitely makes it really weird to fucking reread that opening bit and just see how fucking goofy he is. Because he's so, he's such a not goofy character, seeing him in his, fucking, shit with the weapons, and, But, I mean, it is serious stuff we're seeing, but, there's not even, a moment in the flashback, in the calmer parts of the flashback of him being goofy. He's always angry and serious the whole time, so... Because Frankie's always being stupid, and he's gotta be the older brother, so...
And I do think it's sort of interesting that we kind of learn through this flashback that, basically the only reason Iceberg even got to the position he's in now was basically just so he could... he got closer to the government to kind of he upped his status, and, he ended up basically, monopolizing the, shipbuilding industry on this island. So he basically, took full control of the island to basically ensure that, the government, wouldn't really be able to just get rid of him. So, he got closer to the government to get further away from the government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's he made himself too valuable to simply eliminate. So
yeah, and I do think that's an interesting. I think that's an interesting portrayal of power compared to some of the other characters, which are just kind of I can't remember who I was going to compare him to now.
I was just having strength, physical strength. Is that what you meant? Or because power comes in many forms. So
well, I was thinking more of the leaders in other arcs. How
yeah. Where Walpole is this useless king who's just his country gets fucked up by Blackbeard, and he has no power to do anything about it or even get the government involved. And so it's he's a king, but Iceberg is just a mayor. Yet he's because he's capable and competent and intelligent. He has more power basically. So yeah.
So in a way he's Iceberg is kind of using his power to fend off other power. I don't know how I want to describe this, but I just think it's interesting. Walpole, when he's the king, he's just kind of living for himself. He's useless. He's selfish. But I don't know. Walpole is very clearly a corrupt leader, whereas Iceberg is kind of trying to fight the corruption from inside, using the system to work against the system. I don't know.
Maybe not work against the system per se, but he's definitely he's because he's more against Nico Robin than the actual government, and the main reason he's against Robin and the government, or wait, hold on. Yeah, well, I guess Nico Robin is also that's because Nico Robin can help the government, so give them too much power. So yeah, I guess it is a counter weapon. So yeah, it is it's weird.
Because even then, I'm kind of like trying to think of him compared to Crocodile, and like Crocodile was working with the government because he was part of the, he was a warlord of the sea.
Yes, but he was secretly working against them, so with plans, even with the specific weapon. So
but then I guess the difference between Crocodile and Iceberg is that Crocodile was doing it again for himself, like he had grand plans for himself, whereas Iceberg again is just kind of trying to keep the government away from this weapon.
Mm-hmm. So was that all we had to say on the flashback, I believe?
Yeah, I think that about covers everything.
Yeah, it was good flashback. See, like, for me, it's like, I definitely like it, and I enjoyed it, especially going back to it, but, like, I'm pretty set on what my favorite flashback in the series is by now. But luckily we don't have to wait that much longer. Luckily we don't have to wait that much longer to talk about it. Oh, man. But for me, it's, like, more emotional. Like, I think the ideas in the Robin one are simpler, but, like, the emotional... I mean, it definitely... it does connect to these ideas, but, like, emotionally, it just hits me so fucking hard. I fucking can't. I fucking can't. Oh, man. But anyway, so yeah, Cyberpole 9 captures Frankie. Spandam reveals, he talks to Frankie over the phone. He does exist. He's still there, and then he's got a promotion, too. And I love the bit where Usopp's like, hey, let him go. And then Lucci, like, glares at him, so it's like, you know what?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Never mind. Dork. But they capture him anyway.
Yeah, I could maybe see someone having, like, a complaint, because now that I'm seeing Spandam again coming back, I could see someone, like, complaining that, he's such a weak villain, like, a weak character. But, again, like, we're 2/3 of the way through this arc, so I'm not entirely sure. Like, I don't, like, there's probably an idea represented through Spandam, and we just haven't gotten like a full...
is. Well, I have things to say. Trust me. It just happens towards the end of the stretch of chapters. Like, we have a lot to go through. There's one bit where Kaku gets rid of the Mary and drops it into the ocean, where it is believed to be destroyed. We don't see the body. And we all know storytelling tropes. If we don't see the body, that means Tosen is okay. Boom! Explosion. Fucking arm flying in there. He might have lived. I don't know why we thought
you
that.
You might be okay.
Probably because of there's some meme that no one dies in Bleach, even though that's not even true. But it wasn't true of One Piece either, so I don't know why I believed it for Bleach. Anyway. Tosen. So anyway, Chopper saved Iceberg and Polly, and Nami woke up, and they got to have a little conversation. And we kind of already talked about it, but Iceberg explains that what Robin's wish is, because, what happened about her, what do you know about her that happened later? I was getting confused. There's the, what do you know about her a bit, and then we get a connection to Aokiji, Buster Call, which is a series of a big attack by several warships, and then, of course, she wants the Straw Hats to be safe, and once Nami understands that, it all clicks together, and of course there's your our strength will be infinite panel. So now there's no longer, or once she informs Luffy and everyone, there's no longer any doubt with them. So, though of course Sanji, okay, this is a really good moment. What did you think of Sanji following along? Because there's one thing I have to say here, but I want to give you to give your thoughts first, because
I guess I just have a bigger sort of discussion. I don't want to say like it's a big discussion, but just like on the nature of bounties in the series
yes.
so far. Because at this point, we know that Robin has a bounty, we know that Luffy has a bounty, we know that Zoro has a bounty. So they can't really do anything in secret anymore.
But Sanji.
And what's cool about Sanji
yes.
in this arc is that like he is able to sneak around because nobody knows who he is.
Yes, well, that also happened last time with Alabasta,
I don't
too.
feel like we're going to be getting many more instances of this, considering what happens later in this arc once they get to Enies lobby. I feel like by that point, any sort of like secrecy is gone.
Yeah,
but,
well, the thing...
I mean, I don't know. One character's still wearing a mask, so maybe not.
Well, one thing about that is like... because some people like Cyberpole 9, like the Straw Hats know them, aren't they, revealed? Like they're supposed to be secret operatives. But like the thing about information in One Piece is that most of it is spread by the world government. Like, yeah, Iceberg knows who Lucci is, but he can't like tell the world that Lucci is a secret operative. He can't write a tweet about it and send it out on the internet. Like, information just doesn't work like that in One Piece. Like, the world government pretty much controls what information reaches islands, you know? Like, there's word of mouth, sure, but that'll only spread within an island and maybe neighboring ones at most. And even then, like, they're not gonna fucking, like, blab, like, oh yeah, the shipwright, like, the shipwrights that worked for us, yeah, they're government assassins. Like, they're probably not gonna do that. So it's like, a few people seeing Lucci's face isn't, like, you know, that big a deal. Like, relatively speaking, because information just doesn't spread that much. But what I wanted to say about
well, because that was like a big, wasn't that a big talking point, or not talking point, but like, wasn't that a big aspect of the Baroque Works arc? Was that like their information, like their intel was incorrect because they didn't know about Chopper, and they thought
Chopper was a pet, and they didn't know about Sanji at all. So Sanji is slipped in through that. Like, he was just there in the casino as a Straw Hat Pirate, but because he wasn't recognized as one, Crocodile was out chasing Chopper instead, thinking he was Mr. Prince, because Sanji has the thing where he's not recognized.
I guess that has been Sanji's role for the most part. Is he's kind of he's the guy who operates in secret, but then like even later you see him like talking with Zoro, and he's like, oh, just wait till I get a bounty, and it'll be bigger than yours. So, and like, Sanji is the last, like, you've called them the monster trio, so, like, Sanji, like, having him be able to move around in secret, considering he's one of the stronger members of the crew, is pretty useful, but there's only, I don't know how much, because he's so strong, I don't think he's going to be able to get away with that for much longer.
Yep. But anyway, well, because what I got from this moment, though maybe it comes from foreknowledge, but, like, because, like, he kind of, like, sees through Robin. Like, she said that she's leaving the crew, but he he recognized that it's a line, like, that she does care about the crew. And basically the way I see it is that Sanji, because, you know, he's obviously, like, sexive in a positive way towards women. Like, he kind of, like, reveres them. And one aspect of that sort of, like, that's coming into play here is he kind of always sees the best in women. Arguably to a fault, but in this point, like, he's correct. Like, yeah, Robin's, like, trying to push them away, but, like, because he doesn't know about the iceberg stuff that he just told Nami. He doesn't hear any of that. He's just like, you know what? He wants to give Robin the benefit of the doubt, and so he just, like, hung around for, like, fucking hours on the chance that, you know, he could follow her, and here he is getting, you know, he's sneaking onto the train. So, because he saw the best in her, even when she was lying and trying to assassinate the mayor and all that. So, yeah, it's Sanji being Sanji. Anyway, they sort of set up the whole situation because the sea train's leaving with Robin on it. Aqua Laguna's coming. The Straw Hats are not assassins, but Luffy and Zoro are stuck. As we find them, Zoro is just stuck in a chimney, and Luffy's in between two buildings again. Was there anything? I'm not sure if there's much to say about this sequence, because it's all sort of like just pieces moving and falling in place, kind of like, it's kind of fun antics, I suppose. Like, and we see the threat of Aqua Laguna, which is like an even bigger one than normal. So yeah, I don't know if I have anything to say on that, aside from what I said earlier about, like, Luffy finding the strength to get out once he knows about Robin, so...
Yeah, and I guess that kind of happened with Zoro, too, because, like, he's like, wait, give me my sword, and then he just, like, breaks out of the thing when he otherwise, like,
not as much
move.
as a character moment there, but...
So, like, now that you put it that way, I do kind of like that aspect of this, but otherwise, I don't know, characters, like, being just stuck in places, and like, oh, there's a big wave coming, you gotta save him, get out of the way. I don't know, it feels kind of... I don't know, like... Goofy things in One Piece are fine, but like in this instance, it just kind of feels a little off.
Yeah, well, it's like it doesn't.
I mean, like it's not supposed to be goofy. Like it's, you know, like they could be swept away by an ocean and drown and die, and that's not goofy. But I don't know. It feels strange at this point.
It doesn't, like, because it did get, like, the flashback was super serious, but, like, almost, like, maybe not right after that, but they went back to more, you know, goofiness, and because it doesn't stay super serious for long to a point. And it's like, we're not even at the fucking, like, I mean, this is kind of the end of Water 7. Like, it's kind of, I guess it's a little blurry when you think about it, because it's like, there's a bunch of travel time in between, too. So, yeah.
I know when I like looked up the arc divisions on the One Piece wiki. Obviously, I didn't look any further ahead because I don't want to know what comes next. But like when I looked at the Water 7 thing, like it goes up until like there's the basically up until like they go to try to rescue Robin the first time, and Robin leaves through the little teleport hole thing that the guy makes.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So like literally right before they get to
right
Enies
after
lobby.
the fighting on the sea train. So
yeah,
that makes sense though.
Which I think makes sense, because then like they get to Enies lobby, and then boom, Enies lobby starts there, and that makes sense.
I mean, it's one saga, so I divided it up weirdly, but that's because I don't know. This is
I even then, like looking at this, I can't think like with Baroque works. I could see how you could divide that up into different arcs, because like there's a point where it just stops and goes to
it's
drum.
divided by locations, but in this one it's way more like, even like Jaya and Skypiea I consider practically the same arc, because it is one island, to be fair. It's just a bit separated. But
I see that as being one arc too, because like the start of the arc is the goal, they want to get to the Sky Island, and then they get to the Sky Island and do that conflict and then come back down.
Right,
and that's the arc. And so like with Water 7 / Enies Lobby, I can only really read this as one arc, because like if we do the break at Robin, like them getting to Enies Lobby, like what's really the story there? It's not a complete story, so I don't think it's really an arc.
And then
whereas like when the characters went to not use drum again, because I use that a lot, to even look at the island with the giants that I can't remember,
Little Garden,
Little Garden, like that was like there was a story there with ideas. Like they go there and they meet the giants, and then they have the fight with Baroque Works agents and the giant, like the theme with like the Elbath giants. Like there was an idea there, and it gets them to the next place. So like that to me feels more like a complete arc, like a complete story thing being told there.
And this and last year's chapter's debut backfight was also its own arc with its own antagonist. So even if its ideas build up into Water 7, like, because I'm thinking about the ideas of debut backfight. It's like they don't really matter unless you have the context of the later stuff that happens regarding the crew splitting up. So in that, it's hard a little, like you can consider debut backfight its own arc, but it's definitely closer to Water 7 than like Little Garden and Drum are to Alabasta, I would say. Like ideas wise, because like Little Garden had its own ideas. Like what did Drum and Little Garden really have to say about trust specifically? Like not as much as Alabasta, for just as an example. Though I mean, I guess Drum did have the contrast between kings, so to speak, the Wapol and Cobra. So it's not like there's no ideas that aren't linking them. But anyway, so yeah, I guess the fighting on the train, like there's a little spat between Sanji and Jerry. Literally, all I have to say about this is that like Jerry has no integrity. He says he's a boxer from Karate Island and fights with yoga and kicking. So it's like, and Sanji just destroys him. So it's like that's it. Because you know me, I like trying to find how the ideas and contrasts come out of the fights. So, but it's a short fight, so it doesn't matter too much.
I really like the part where Sanji's just sitting on the outside of the train, and he's like, "Oh, how do I get inside without being noticed?" And then the guy just walks out and sees him, and he's like, he's got this smile on his face, and then he just kicks him.
Nothing I can help about that. He's yeah. But anyway, so yeah, skimming through, Luffy and Zoro break out. They have a bit of a fight with the ship. We find out a bit more of the world, like the Gates of Justice behind Enies Lobby. That's linking the three big government what's the word I'm looking for? Institutions: the Judicial Island at Enies Lobby, the Marine headquarters, and the underwater prison at Empel Down. So basically, like once they're through the Great Gates of Justice, it's hopeless. So, but they're gonna fight anyway. Oh yeah, so Luffy's heading over on Rocket Man, who's a cool shark train. Oh yeah, and everyone kind of allies Galley Law and Frankie family. Trying to think if there's much to say, because it's just kind of like introducing us to all the characters, like Captain T-Bone, the Marine, everyone who's going to Enies Lobby. Oh yeah, they break through the Aqua Laguna. Like, I don't know, did you have anything to say? Because there's not a lot of ideas. There's no themes. It's just cool shit and gags. There's no themes.
I mean, it is really interesting that everything kind of converges here, and so we have like all these characters at play, which, I mean, not all of them are super fleshed out, which is fine, because like they're just kind of there to, I mean, they're parts of the group, so
Right,
I
like
don't know, them being there.
the
and
ones who like kind of like there's like only a few, like Zambini, Kiwi, and Mozu from the Frankie family have names, and then Polly, Tileston, and Lulu they have names, but even then it's like they're just kind of they're part of these organizations. So yeah.
Paulie, give us an explanation. Tell us who it was who went after Mr. Iceberg. Oh, it was, it was our coworkers. It was the other guys. Wait, what?
Well, they thought it was like some random nobodies from the Backstreets or something. And we thought it was Michael and Hoykel from the Backstreets. Like, yeah, it was funny.
Who were they?
And then, Sanji finds Frankie and Usopp, and Frankie's like. He decides to help out because he doesn't want to doesn't want Robin to get captured by the world government, and he also kind of he also kind of connects a bit to Robin sacrificing himself for them, even though he's like he's the one. Why are you crying? I'm not crying. And then of course Usopp, but Usopp, he has no connection to the crew anymore, so he's gonna leave. He's just, but then we get the mysterious hero. Sniper King.
Sniper King, the legend.
The man, the myth, the legend himself. The Sniper King has come to save the day.
I will also say, like, a little before that, there was the conversation via the transponder snails.
Oh, yes, with Nami and Sanji. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the moment where they're talking and Luffy's like, go tear things up. Go give him hell. Because, like... And then, like, Zoro's like, no, wait, don't do that. Like, wait for us to get there. And then Luffy says, no, I mean, if it were you, we wouldn't be able to stop you. And then Sanji just, like, crushes the receiver. Which, if you're not paying attention, you could think, oh, my God, he just killed a transponder snail. But no, it's just the receiver. Yeah. But it still looks cool.
He didn't need to do that, though. He just wanted to look cool. Oh, boy. So, yeah, anyway. If you haven't already, be sure to watch there's a whole, like... Toei made this whole fucking almost music cutaway for the Sniper King for Sniper King singing his song. It's pretty fun.
I will definitely look into that.
And there's a dub version too, because they have dubbed over this part. I don't know which is better. They're both fine, I'm sure. But yeah, I like how they just accept Sniper King as part of their group, and he's just like, don't you want to know more about me? Like, he's got his whole world building and character information to drop, and no one cares.
Yeah, I like the jokes with Sniper King that kind of pop up. Like, he's like, don't you want to know where Sniper Island is? The answer is in your heart. But these guys don't care. They're just They're focused on the mission. They're focused on what's going on. But later, when Luffy and Chopper meet Sniper King, of course they buy into it and they're like, "Oh my God, that's so cool! Can I have your autograph?"
And the funniest part about that is like you see the thought bubbles of everyone else, and like they're all like, a year or two ago, she recognizes him. And she's like a child. Like, all the shipwrights are like, oh, it's that guy from the shipyard. And they're like, hey, it's the guy who's on the ship. But Luffy and Chopper, or Luffy and Usopp, it was Luffy and Chopper. I said it right the first time. They'd known Usopp for ages, and they're like, who is this man? So stupid. And like, right after Soga King shows up, Nami shows up. She has her perfected climate baton, which is upgraded with dials. And they're like, she and Luffy get depressed. Sad.
His final work. No, that's what I can kind of appreciate about the characters in One Piece as opposed to like when the joke when Kishimoto was trying to write for Shikamaru and was like, well, I'm not all that smart, so I don't know how to write a super smart character.
Yeah, that's true.
But Oda is just kind of like, okay, I'll just write my characters to be super dumb.
Like there are like
then I won't have to worry about
characters, but they're not like Kuro of 1,000 Plans, and he had a plan, I guess. So yeah, he did do smart characters back then, but there haven't been like any major characters like that in quite a while. So everyone's stupid. But then it's like, it's even. Like, because, like, Sanji...
Oda has shown that he can, do more complicated things. Like, even... this is a small thing, but, I was going to say even just with something like Nami's little climate baton. Like, that involves at least some thought, because you have to understand how weather patterns work and stuff like that. So, like...
Yeah, just research it and see how Nami can replicate those on a smaller scale, yeah.
So it's not that, Oda is stupid, but, he writes stupid... he doesn't really try to push himself out of... maybe out of his depth, because, a lot of his characters are just dumb, and it's...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so I guess we could, The stuff on the train isn't as interesting, though there are a few fights, and some moments later. But so yeah, Wayne's is a fight. What did you think about Sanji versus Wayne's in general? Go on. If you have any other thoughts, you can go ahead.
Yeah, there's like I don't know. There's like some gross out humor in here, which like I don't really care for. I don't know what this character means. Like, what does he contribute to the arc? I mean, I don't like it's a goofy fight, and the arc doesn't like as we've said. This is a pretty serious arc, so like some levity is fine, but I don't have anything to take away from this.
Okay, I do. So I'll explain it real quick. Integrity. Because Sanji even sort of points it out towards the end because he uses Sanji doesn't use his hands or like cook weapons. Or knives as
but when
like
he's
weapons. He uses them as a cook.
Boy, then he can because it's food.
Yes. Well, even then, Wayne's in general, he uses like food. He plays with his food. He's like he mixes his cooking and his fighting in a way that's like goes against Sanji's ideals pretty much. And like Sanji even says like, "You're wasting food. I hope you're hungry because I'm gonna make you eat all those fucking noodles." So, but of course Sanji justifies the use of weapons during the fight because, he is preparing food in a kitchen for this fucker. He's gonna stuff it full of noodles, though we don't see that. That would have been good. But yeah, it's not an amazing fight, really. It's just like, yeah, it's a fight. And there's an idea there because it's just more Sanji's integrity. I mean, we're not really...
I do find it kind of hilarious that, like, this is, like, a super goofy, like... This is very clearly a comedy fight, but then it's like, oh no, but there's actually a serious idea at play here, and it's like, wow. Oda.
Right? Like, an actual meaningful idea of Sanji's, yeah. I did not get as much from the other two fights.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking that,
Frankie
too.
Versus
like, the Frankie fight with the other guy. I was like, okay, well then what's the takeaway from this fight?
Mostly it's really like introducing Frankie's powers, honestly, like just explaining more of his cyborg capabilities, like his weaknesses is back and tricky and deceptive. Like Frankie's like, look over there, he does a cheap shot like that, but I didn't really take away anything from that aspect. So maybe someone in the comments will have a good dissection of that fight. Like, and yeah, Zoro versus T-Bone was kind of similar. Like there's just like Zoro is fighting for more, I suppose. Like if they're like, I mean, there's T-Bone has his like selflessness, but look, I mean, luckily they weren't like, especially the Zoro versus T-Bone. It was just a single exchange, so it wasn't like a really long fight or anything. And I kind of like T-Bone himself because he's kind of like, he's so nice. He's like such a pure boy, even though he's like a creepy skelly man. Like he's just like, you're wounded. I'll use my cape and give you a bandage. So, but the fight itself, it's like, So,
Also, yeah. I really like the panel where Zoro just cuts the train car in half, and all the characters are just standing on the train, mouth agape, just like, what?
Now, yeah. Yeah, the Frankie family didn't expect it. The Marines didn't expect it. Luffy's just like, you can cut that, right? And he's like, yeah. Just the trust they have in each other that the others don't. That the randoms
I flipped the page and I forgot that there was even more. Like I was only looking at the big spread, but no, there's just like all these characters. Like even the passengers just standing in the car, are like, what just happened?
Oh man. But yeah, this might be one of the weaker parts of the arc. Not that it's bad, just it's like there's nothing really there's not much interesting going on. It's just kind of like it's kind of like a mid arc in between Water 7 and Enies Lobby almost. So you got the fights, but I mean, at least you're getting like these like what did Sanji do in the last chapters? Nothing. What did Zoro do? Nothing much. Frankie had some fighting, but he's a new character, so it's like it's just giving a little focus to these smaller guys.
But then I have to wonder how does T-Bone compare to someone like Mihawk, because they even call him the ship slasher. He carves up pirate ships like steaks. So.
That's a good question. So, in other words, T-Bone and Mihawk can both cut ships, so they're equal, and Zoro beat T-Bone, therefore Zoro is stronger than Mihawk. Power scalar logic, everybody. Oh, man. I'm never gonna stop taking jabs at power scalars. They're just too memey. Also, with this, I don't know, I definitely have some of this stuff to say on Lucci later, but, because he kills Nero, and, he's also got a kind of Robin can be bad. Robin could destroy the world, so shouldn't she be killed? But obviously everyone disagrees. So.
I really like the part where Frankie is like, well, if I do this, my weak point disappears, and he just lays down on the deck. Or on top of the train.
Dumbass. Here's the moment I mentioned earlier where Sogeking tries to take he takes Robin. They get Robin and they disconnect the tracks and they're like fine for a minute until Blue No. Oh no, Califa grabs the train back, and Blue No has his power, of course, because he could just make doors in the fucking air. Like, he's got a really interesting power, but it's not like very combat capable. But he's but it's still pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was. I remember like the part where how did they describe it? Like he made a door in the a door in the wall of the atmosphere. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what?
And later during the fight with Luffy, he even like sits there for a minute thinking about how to deal with Luffy. Like, he could just make like a tiny pocket dimension in the air and just like chill there for a second, like just to think what should I do next. So yeah, he's got a crazy power. He can just make doors anywhere. Like, he makes a revolving door in Luffy's face. So it's a cool power. Parameces in general are the coolest, I think. Like, I might have mentioned this before, but it's like, because they can be so creative and weird, whereas like zones just change what you into an animal, and Logias just change you into an element, so they're not as interesting, I think. So yeah.
I did also kind of like the little interaction before that where like Usopp had like, while the other two are fighting, Usopp had like snuck around and gotten into Robin's little place.
Yes.
And then the one guy shows up and
Corky and Usopp hid like by like having Robin sit on him, but he's the hands, so he's like doing weird like hand signs. What the fuck, Usopp, you dumb bitch. And Corky just accepts it because it's One Piece and weird shit happens all the time. So
just like,
oh my god,
she looks different, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
But anyway, so yeah, Robin, even though she was rescued briefly, she does, like, honestly, if she fought back, they might have been able to escape because she's got a decent power, but like, she could, but she doesn't want to escape because the Straw Hats are, because they even say like they've set sail from Water 7, and so they're safe, for now, but once they make land, they can be attacked again, and they're about to make land on Enies lobby.
I did kind of like the way that the end of this like train conflict played out, where they're like, oh, a smoke star, that was kind of underwhelming, but like it worked, and I was like, oh, are they actually gonna get Robin? But then they just, oh no,
yeah, she she didn't want to be rescued.
But then, like,
and also, like, it's like, you're right, like, they were pretty underwhelmed, but it's like, it's if it's stupid and it works, then it's not stupid, so, yeah.
But even then, like, there's another little moment where, like, before Blue No reveals that he can just make a door in the atmosphere, like, Frankie, like, breaks off part of the train and is like, okay, well, then you're not going to be able to use that power. And it's like, oh, well, maybe they will get away. But nope, then there's another reveal. But I like the way it all plays out and it, like, slowly escalates.
Yeah, yeah.
And have faith in Luffy.
Anyway, and after, or what was that?
Well, Sniper King tells Robin to have faith in Luffy.
Yes.
And it's a big...
like, that one, and the, like, right after that, you have Frankie telling, Robin that, no, existing is not a crime. Then, so you got the people, like, building Robin up to a certain moment with their inspiring words. And it's interesting for Usopp to be the one to say that, considering all the conflict earlier. Like, Luffy was the one who wanted to get rid of Mary after the conversation with the shipwrights, but Usopp is saying, well, I mean, he says have faith in Luffy, so yeah, but there's still more of the arc to go.
Yeah, I guess it is interesting that would be coming from Usopp, the one who is no longer... I'm sorry, Sniper King, the one who is no longer...
who was never a Straw Hat in the first place. Yep. So yeah, anyway, Robin and Frankie land on Enies' lobby with Cyberpole, and we get introduced to the last couple members, Kumadori, Jabra, and Fukuro.
Yeah, I don't know how I felt about, the introduction of, like, more characters. This, to me, almost felt like it was a bit of a misstep. Like, what... I mean, I don't know. I don't know how the third part is going to go, so maybe I'll be okay with it. But, like, with Water, like, in Water 7, we had kind of gotten introduced to the main players, and we don't really know a whole lot about how many of them operate, except, like, Lucci has had some, like, interesting interactions with other characters, so I'm kind of interested to see him get a little more focus, but I don't know. Then we get these 3 other guys, and, like, I don't know. Maybe I'll care by the end, but at this point, like, I don't... Ugh.
Well, a good fight will characterize both sides of the fight and give them some contrast, so, there's definitely one, some of these fights I'm looking forward to, because that's the thing, is, there's, the one spread, too, of all the Straw Hats on top and all the Cyberpole guys on the bottom, and the numbers are pretty similar, so it's it's a battle shonen, there's an X amount of colorful bad guys and X amount of colorful heroes. They're probably going to be fighting, so, yeah, well, when you see the fights, maybe you'll be like, oh yeah, this character's fine.
Yeah, I guess...
But yeah, just kind of...
Yeah, I guess the difference is that, these ones don't really have... Like, the other ones have build-up. These ones just kind of appear.
Yeah.
Like, they have been disconnected from the majority of the conflict, which might play into the mechanics of a fight later, or an idea that's going to be explored, so... Yeah, I'll wait and see. At this point, though, I'm just kind of throwing that out there that I'm not super... looking forward to it, but we'll see maybe I'll change my mind.
Fight predictions, go! I don't know, have you thought, oh yeah, this character is definitely going to fight that character aside from Luffy versus Lucci?
Did any of them have a sword? No, we're probably going to see Zoro versus Kaku, just because that's kind of the showdown that was teased before. And obviously Luffy versus Lucci, because I know that's a fight that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Any other guesses, or no?
Well, Blue Nose already kind of dead, so... Well, of course not dead, because this is One Piece. Yeah. But
there's Khalifa, Kumadori, Jabra, and Fukuro, so...
Well, I don't know, just knowing Oda's style, probably Khalifa versus Nami, just because he likes to pit the female characters against the female characters.
Yeah, that seems to be a shonen thing, and a lot of shonen do that for some reason, but anyway.
Oh, yeah, I need to read more shonen, so... But yeah, I believe you.
But no guesses on the other 3, that's fine. I just wanted to probe your brain.
No, I really don't care. I'm just kind of making this up on the fly.
I know. But anyway, so yeah, everyone's together for a change. Sanji's finally back, and, Luffy's Luffy... See, actually, I just thought that this was interesting, because Luffy doesn't think Robin wants to die, but that's remember back in Alabasta, what did Robin want to do? She wanted to die, and Luffy saved her. He just didn't listen, so, the question is, is that true? And that does come up in the... Oh, we're getting closer. I'm getting excited.
I just like every little moment where you're just ready to talk about the flashback.
Oh my god, I'm
moment.
Bursting, Mathwiz. I'm fucking bursting. So yeah, also, you might have caught it, but after that moment, Luffy says, he's got a move he wants to try to try out, foreshadowing that he's come up with his gears, so, which we see, one of them. Oh, wait, shit. I didn't say that. You didn't hear anything.
Also, I like how when they're getting there and they're devising a plan. They're like, okay, we're gonna take the train and go through, and then Luffy just jumps ahead. And he's like,
well,
okay.
First he's like, yeah, I got it. And they explain everything, and he's like, I got it. And then he just, leaves and rushes the island alone. He doesn't get anything at all. Fucking idiot.
And I also like how Spandam's, stupid confidence is, played up over the course of this stretch.
He took out 5 guards. Amazing. That's your captain. Wow. So impressive.
And he's like, oh, just one intruder? Big deal. That's... I have an army of thousands of soldiers.
Alright, so now we're getting into the infiltration of Enies' lobby. Oimo and Kashi show up. I guess we can talk about those them in a moment.
I always feel weird. There are a couple of these characters in One Piece where, they will talk in the third person but also talk in the first person, and it really weirds me out.
See, I wonder if that's a translation issue, or because there are, you can talk in the third person in Japanese too, but you're right, because Oimo sometimes says he sometimes says third person thing and sometimes doesn't.
And there was something similar with Hina too when she appeared back in.
Yes, Hina did that. Yes.
And like if a character talks in the third person, that's fine. But like they're flipping back and forth, and I'm so confused. Like, make up your mind.
At least Kashi keeps things straight. I think. At least on that page, he did. And also, you get a nice like juxtaposition between like the actual giants, big humans, and regular humans. Like, I really like that page how it just like scales down. Like, they even say that like they make the Frankie Family Destroyers look cute, because yeah, they're big humans, but they're still small relative to giants. Like, there's different scale of big in One Piece, so it's because it gives them more variety for character designs. Like, and that's fine. But yeah, they fight for a bit, and eventually Oimo and Kashi get taken down. I don't have anything to say about their conflict. It kind of doesn't matter at this point, though it will later.
What casualties?
Lucian
He's
gang.
beaten 400 guards. No, I'll have to revise that. There go 100 more. The 5 blah.
And they get yes. Spandam was like 5 guards. That's it. Wow. Oh man. Oh yeah. So then we get back to the power scaling. So yeah, Rob Lucci comes in and they test their power level against Fukuro, who is a scouter who you punch and he gives you your power level.
Why? This feels so not Oda. Like, this doesn't feel like a thing he does.
No, like because actually apparently like around this stretch of chapters, people were like becoming like worried, I suppose, because he introduces power levels. Luffy goes Super Saiyan. It's like, Oda, what are you doing? And like the power, like, okay, Gear 2 I'll talk about for sure, because it's associated with a character moment that has to do with Luffy's character arc. But like with this, the power levels, like all this really matters for is like the Straw Hats fight these guys, and you can kind of like tell where the Straw Hats are relative to each other, I guess. But like, but even then, it's like it doesn't really matter.
Well, I guess if Jabra is the third strongest, then he's gonna fight Sanji because Sanji is the other part of the monster trio, and you know, there's a gap. There's a gap of like 1,400 in their power levels. That just shows that, you know, Chopper and Sanji, there's such a big gap in their powers. What does this mean? What does this mean? Why is this here? Like, you don't even need to spell out which ones are stronger than the other. Just like have the characters fight the characters, and like I get it, Oda.
Yeah.
The strong boys fight the strong boys.
And like, yeah, characters brag about it at some point, like, you know, like, because Lucci is so strong, he's like, yeah, I'm 5 times stronger than Bluno, give or take, and it kind of doesn't matter. So it's like, I don't know. I'm curious as to why he did this. Like, aside from like, because again, like even like like you said, we already know that Zoro and Sanji are like stronger than everyone else in the crew. So yeah, it's. I mean, like, and even I think what's making it worse now that I realize that maybe there's something I'm missing, but it's like a whole idea of this arc is power. I mean, it's relevant to a lot of things, but it's like, so here you have power being like literalized, and like, what does it mean? Like, what does it say? Nothing. It doesn't matter. Like, that's my only issue with power levels, and why I think bounties are such a good system, because like bounties, they say something beyond just like relative strengths of characters, because it's not what it's for. It's about the setting. It's about what the government thinks of you as a criminal. You know, the strongest in the world and the most dangerous in the world are different, you know, and like, you know, Sanji isn't recognized, so he's not given a bounty. Not because he's weaker, but the government just doesn't know about him. You know, that's cool. Power levels are like, whatever. It's just like, okay, here's literally how strong this character is. That's it. It doesn't matter.
Like, even to, like, compare this to Dragon Ball, the thing that, like, popularized power levels, like, part of the big conceit with power levels was that they were kind of pointless. Like, the characters would always, like, hide their strength, and so the people, with the technology, would rely on the technology, and then they would get, you know, they'd get screwed, because, like, they weren't relying on their anything else. Like, they were too reliant on their power levels.
Outward technology rather than their inner, you know, ability, but then there was moments where it was used for like tension, like, oh yeah, Cell has this power level which is this much higher than Frieza's, so in this means he's super stronger than Frieza.
I thought the power level thing was kind of dropped after the Frieza stuff.
At least,
like, I know Frieza would say like, my power level's 1 million, and like, okay.
Yeah, and it's not very, like, because I've seen other series use it, mostly Shaman King and Seven Deadly Sins, maybe a couple others, but like luckily they aren't used that often. But this is like, yeah, I will insist, this is the only arc these numbers have shown up in.
That's kind of what I expected. I didn't imagine this would appear again, but even then, like in the context of this arc, I'm not quite. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's just kind of superfluous. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't really expect power levels to ever matter in any story because they're so stupid. They're such a dumb, because it's just a lazy way of telling instead of showing. Because it's like, instead of showing how strong a character is, you just say he's got a power level of 1 million, and that's it. Like, that's why it's like, you look at Dragon Ball, and like a character punches, and it's just a normal punch. Like, it does Super Saiyan Blue Goku, Super Saiyan Goku, regular Goku, fucking in the Piccolo arc. They look the same, because it's just a character punching a dude, and the dude's getting hit. You see a punch in One Punch Man, and he blows the fucking clouds away for like miles, and it's like, it looks fucking cool. Like, you feel how fucking tough that punch is. I just turned it super untouchable for a second there. But it's like, the scale of it is so much bigger, even though, quote unquote, the power level is smaller. But it's more visceral. It looks cooler. It is cooler. Like, attaching an arbitrary number to it doesn't fucking make it cooler. Okay? So, yeah, we don't really need power levels. Oda's good enough at drawing impacts and stuff that he doesn't need it. Like, fucking Luffy versus Bellamy, would that have been better if someone after had said, like, oh, Luffy must have a power level of at least 150 million instead of 100 million? Oh god, I'm sorry.
Even then, where's the part where, oh yeah, the one guy says like, oh, don't get a big head, it only measures physical ability.
Right.
It's like, I have devil fruit powers, don't forget, and then, I don't.
So it like immediately kind of undercuts it. Like, I guess all it really matters for is Spandam like pointing out that he's like physically weak, because there is, but you already kind of got that. But I mean, like, I guess knowing for sure that he's weaker than a Marine soldier, I don't know. But that is important. But even then, I don't necessarily think it needed a power level. Like, they could just mention you're like about as strong as a Marine soldier or something. I don't know. So anyway, Spandam gets Frankie and Robin into his office, and he's shouting at and he also has 2 devil fruits for for Kaku and Khalifa.
See, and that scene was kind of interesting, because we got a little more information on like how devil fruit, unless maybe it had been said before, but I don't remember it.
No, I'm pretty sure it hadn't. I might have said it before, but I don't think it was said before.
They're like, oh, if once you take a bite out of a devil fruit, then that's the ability, and for everyone else, it's just a fruit. And
yes.
What was the other thing?
So Kaku and Khalifa didn't have to eat the whole thing, but they decided to anyway.
Well, and then also, like, if you eat 2 devil fruits, then you will explode or something, because...
Yes, your body literally can't take it, and you die.
So we're not...
Yep.
I was going to make an Akame ga Kill reference, but I'm not going to do that, because...
I haven't read it yet. Okay. That's fine. Maybe someone in the listening will get it, and I'll probably forget it. But yeah, for most of the actual, like, Enies lobby fighting, so far, like, I don't have much to say. Like, there's a couple moments, but, like, a lot of it's just, they're working their way through. They're resisting, they're fighting the government. It's cool, I guess.
Yeah, I like the big scale of this, but yeah, there were certain fights that, like, I don't know, they just kind of seemed like background noise. Like, I didn't particularly...
Yeah, that's accurate. That's a good way of putting it, yeah.
Like, we're already up to the part where the sea train is, like, flying in, and this is after... I think there was a decent amount of fighting.
Yeah, there's... because it's like they fought to open the gate, and then they just go over the... Yes. Oh, no, yeah, it's not like it's pointless, it's just like, what's there to say about it at the present?
Although, like, the fight wasn't pointless, because obviously the giants end up coming back into play later.
Yes,
Also, there's this one shot where a character appears and stabs a character, and it's just, like, intentionally framed to look really brutal. I mean, like, you do see the arm flying back, so, like, it's a shot in the shoulder, not a shot through, like, the throat or something.
Oh, yeah. Zoro's.
Oh yeah, I like how the giant just gets up and then the train.
anyway,
like,
but yeah, Robin,
how are we gonna worry about a landing? Luck.
Finds out that the agreement's been broken
they just
because
hit
they
the
made
giant.
landfall on Enies lobby. And, she's not happy about it. And Van Damme's fucking, like, he's just, like, kicking her and Frankie. Like, they're fucking tied up, and he's like, fuck this guy. Like, he's like Bellamy. I just want to hate this fucker, you know? He's like, it's hard not to. He's just an asshole. But, here's some, I think I'm only getting to the devil fruit discussion, but there's one interesting moment where, we find out a bit more about Lucci's sort of ideals, because he even says that, like, he's not interested in status or power. He doesn't care about what the world government does. Like, and this is what's terrifying, because, like, all he wants is fucking blood. He just likes killing. That's it. That's, like, all Lucci wants out of this. So he just happens to be an assassin, and he happens to let the government do whatever he wants because it gets him what he wants. So it's like, and there's an interesting contrast I definitely want to bring up later. Because, well, I guess because the character, you know how Aokiji has, like, his lazy justice? There's other characters who have also named their justices, and Lucci's, we don't find out till next chapter, but Lucci's idea of justice is dark justice, and I definitely, I'll bring that up later again, because there's another character who we see later.
Also, I like...
But anyway,
Well, you are a little bit ahead of me,
or what's up?
Because I have fallen behind. But I'm looking at the part where Nami shows up and she's got her new dial enhanced climate baton, so her power level has spiked.
Yes,
and she takes out like a big crowd of people, and it's like Oh, but then Nami also like hits because it's not selective, so like she almost hits herself, and she hits Zoro and Sanji.
Right. Yes. So she's not as strong as Eneru, apparently, because they're fine. But yeah, no. Well, and she's more capable now, which is cool. Because, I mean, after field testing it, field testing Usopp's fucking toy,
and also she
it makes sense that she'd
Sniper
want
King, and
improvements.
Chopper's
so,
like, well, why are you hitting the Sniper King? And I mean, rightfully so, because I mean, the Sniper King isn't not the one who made the...
Yes, and there was the later bit where he loses his mask and quickly grabs it as Chopper's, like, right there. And you're like, oh, shit. So anyway, I'm at Luffy facing off with Bluno if you want to skim ahead and point out any other things you noticed.
I do just kind of like the bit of Luffy just being in the crowd of people. Like, he's going up against, like, thousands of soldiers, and they're like, we can't stop him! Like, I mean, there's so many, like, cool things in this arc, but just, like, as a display of power, like, one man taking on, like, an entire army, that's, like, it's a very, like, literal representation of what is happening here. Like, they are going, like, they're at, like, yeah, it's described here in a thing. You're committing a major crime on a global scale. Like, you are going after the Marines, the Navy.
Yes. Well, like... Because, they haven't, like, they beat Morgan, and that, like, they didn't, like, the guys under Morgan didn't report that, like, as, like, Luffy, took down a Marine captain. They took it as, like, the tyrant was deposed. So, and, like, I don't think he's evaded Smoker. Nezumi got attacked by Nami. Like, that's, like, the worst crimes they've done against the government. Like, they fought a warlord, Crocodile, but he wasn't, like, he was revealed to be a traitor, and Smoker was praised for capturing him. So it's like, but this is like them undeniably going up against like someone in the world government as a whole, and like in a way they can't just like bypass. Like they're here. They this isn't gonna get blamed on someone else. So yeah.
I mean,
did you have anything else to mention?
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, I hadn't really considered that. Like, we had seen that the world government was scum before, through, like, these little one-off encounters with characters, but this is the first time that, like, they're taking on everything.
Yeah, the scale... Well, like, you even see the Gates of Justice that dwarf the island. Like, holy shit. Like, Enies Lobby isn't a big island, like, because they run across it over the course of, like, an hour or so, but the doors are still huge, so, yeah. And yeah, Bluno spells out the sort of the gulf between them, like, Luffy and a few dozen men versus, 170 countries allied under one banner, but Luffy's still gonna fight. So yeah, I guess we'll definitely talk about Luffy versus Bluno but for there's also like I like the one moment where like Sodom and Gomorrah are like fighting through, and Zoro like, oh no, he can't see and he's gonna hit that wall, and Zoro and Sanji are like, what wall? And they destroy it. Like they're normally they're fighting against each other, but they like connected to this to the Sea King, or not the Sea King, the King Bull. And they team up to help him, and it was just a neat little moment of them being cool. And there's also Usopp running into Oimo and Kashi, and they were tricked by the government. Well, because like also Usopp was like about to run away, like his cowardice was setting in because he's left behind.
Yeah, he got left behind, and he's like, oh no, what do I do?
He's like he trying to imagine himself fighting through an army to get back to them is rough, but then. While he was forgetting that, like, he runs into giants, and what does he remember? Honor, So you get this connection back to Little Garden and Usopp's character.
A literal connection to what it's... So it's like a literal connection to the giants
Little Garden,
Little Garden, because these giants are...
Oh, yes. Or, thematic connection. Right. And, because, and Usopp, he recounts the tale of the giant of Dorian Brogy, and it gets Oimo and Kashi on their side. Like, and they're just like, they come over and they're like, yeah, the Marines are like, yeah, woo, we got the giants, and then they just start fucking up the Marines, and it's like, oh shit.
I did also think it was interesting that there was a connection there, because like I just saw them as giants, and I was like, okay, they're giants, but like I didn't initially put together that like they would be connected to the giants of Elbaf, but they were.
And even. Well, and I also like how later when we get introduced to Saul, he's even like, I might be a giant, but I'm not one of those Elbafian types. Like, we're not all, like, violent warmongers. So I feel like Oda maybe had the thought, like, oh, if, these giants show up, are all giants connected to Dorian Brogy? But no, he went out of his way to, like, point out that there isn't a connection between them and Saul. So you just made me think about that. And also now we finally get to the Devil Fruit scene. Which I also like because Lucci kind of like points out that being unable to swim isn't a big deal. Like, let's put it this way. How many fruit users have we seen in the water? Like, pretty much like Luffy, Chopper, like who else? Like, even though it's a world on the ocean, like being unable to swim doesn't really matter that much. Because you're usually on an island anyway.
Hey, remember that one time that Mr. 3 was floating on the water?
Mr. 3. Yes, and he had to go out of his way to explain why that happened, because he fucked up. So it's like, yeah, like, he was thrown in the water, but even that he survived because he used his power. Like, so yeah, being under, it doesn't matter too much. So Lucci's, like, correct. Like, the only reason we've seen Luffy underwater is because we've spent so much of the series with him. So, yeah, it's like, it generally doesn't matter. So, it's not really that bad a weakness, honestly. So it's like, yeah, Lucci's just like, yeah, get more power. Except the fruit tastes like poop, apparently, so, but yeah, we obviously do not see what power they get, if any. Well, they definitely got power, but,
I like how one of these fruits is like a banana, so it's like something that, the one that Kaku can just eat, but then, like, Caulifla has, like, a fork and a knife to, like...
For, like, a melon or whatever it is,
yeah.
So, yeah.
It's again, it's, like, a serious arc, but it's, like, it's just one of those things that, like, it's... How do I describe it? Like, it reminds me kind of, I can't think of how to explain it without using, like, another example, but just something that's, like, it's just there, and it's just, like, played up as, like, it's almost part of the world.
Yes, it's
but, like, when you step back and think about it, it's just kind of, like, absurd.
Yes,
and
it's serious. You need to read Bakuman, dude, okay? Because they kind of introduced the idea of, like, serious humor, where it's, like, the characters are taking it seriously, but when you step, exactly what you said, when you step back, it's super goofy and ridiculous. So, yeah, it's definitely an idea.
Go watch Planet With, everybody. It's an absurd thing like that.
Yeah. I want to talk about Luffy versus Blueno, but we're not there yet.
Like, I just want to talk about the fight, but we're not at the fight.
Yeah, Spandam's
Speaking
fucking around
of
with
fights,
the Buster
though, let's derail the conversation a little more, because we forgot to talk about the fan favorite moves contest results.
Oh, yes, you're right, we did, because Luffy got first with his Gotling, I believe, and then you're at the page, so read them out to me.
Well, I'm at the one that is
the second one,
4th place. So let me find my volume 39 real quick.
Oh, was it in the last volume? Okay.
Well, yeah, because like the top 3 are in one volume, and then it's like, oh, we will show the rest in the next volume.
Okay. Yeah, because if I remember correctly, it was like Luffy's Gatling was number 1, probably Zoro's Onigiri was number 2, and then one of Sanji's was number 3.
See, you would think that, because like the Onigiri is the only attack from Zoro I actually remember, but that wasn't the one. I know that it wasn't the one because I was surprised.
Okay, I maybe you're right. Okay.
Let me find it.
But
wait, I think I
find
it
for you?
Nope, that's Ramen Kung Fu.
Oh, I found it. It's it's 3,
we found it at like the same time because like I also found it.
It's 3,000 Worlds, which was his the one he used against Mihawk, which is interesting because it didn't even work. The fan favorite Zoro attack, the second most popular attack in the series, didn't even work.
See, it's funny because I thought it was the Onigiri that he used against Mihawk, but I guess not because like I don't remember any of these attacks. Like Muton Mallet, like that's a kick. Okay.
No, none of Sanji's attacks have stuck with me at all. Like, I have that sometimes where another character who has a lot of attacks I just couldn't name is Natsu from Fairy Tail. Like, they have so many attacks, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, they're all the same. They're kind of all, like, all of Sanji's attacks are just kicks. Like, they're Bad Manners Kick Course, where like, which isn't even the one that ranked 3rd. That's the one that I think of when I think of Sanji, because it's like the one where he stands on his hands and twirls. Like, that's the only one I like can remember by like name. And
yeah, that was 6th place.
Yeah. Luffy's attacks I remember much more easily for some reason.
Well, because like Luffy's attacks are like different. Like it's a different application of the Gum Gum fruit.
And that's probably why. Because like Zoro and Sanji's, like Zoro's attacks are, I remember some of those because for some reason, maybe it's because of the theme. Like I remember, like because it's like animal something, so I remember animals easier than I do French names for meat. So maybe that's why I remember Zoro's attacks a little better. And but Luffy's are pretty easy.
Like I didn't remember like other than like Luffy's attacks because like a lot of these are just I didn't remember many of these. Like of course I'm gonna remember Ace's Fire Fist.
Yes, that which was also the one that ranked highest. That wasn't a Straw Hat, I believe, at number 4, right?
Yeah, but yeah, like a lot of these are just Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro attacks, and like. For Zoro, it's just like he swings a sword in a different way, I guess. So it's a different attack. Like Zoro has so many different attack names, and I don't know what the difference is between like any of them.
I mean, some of them because like Dragon Twister is pretty clear. Because he makes a tornado. That's about it. Well, I guess what's also kind of funny about some of them is that they're puns with like types of sushi. Like onigiri is demon slash, but it's also rice ball. Yaki onigiri is burning demon slash, but it's also like cooked rice ball. Like there's a list of them, and I think there's a few others that are like that. So it's kind of funny, I guess, especially because he's like the Japanese themed one, the samurai. So of course his attacks are sushi. So yeah, but anyway, so yeah, Spanim's fucking with the Buster Call. He's bragging to Robin about his success while they wait for to go to the Gates of Justice. And then he gets the full report, an important summary, and then he's like, they've reached the final point of the lighthouse. We've lost thousands of soldiers. The pirates are assembled in the courtyard. And Span is just like, what? Oh man, eat shit. Oh man.
But yeah, there's also the part where.
Or what was that?
I was gonna say there's also the part where he says authority itself is a kind of weapon.
Yes, so yes, the part you mentioned earlier. Oh man, he like asks the judges like, "What's the current status?" And the status is the worst. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention it earlier because it's the Just 11 jurymen. Like of all the Oda just had all these ideas for like what Marines would or what government soldiers would be protecting a courthouse, and he just came up with all this like fucking guys who ride guard dogs, like just weird shit. But I don't know how the pun works in Japanese because I just it's really great in English, because they're the Just 11 jurymen because they are just like justice. There's just 11 of them. Because they're not a real jury, they're actually like some fucking pirates who just give guilties. I don't know. I like the wordplay there, but yeah, I don't know what it is like in Japanese. So and Zoro uses
there were like a lot of things popping up in this like you get the 3-headed juror person, court justice, whatever the term is, and it's
Did they deal with him?
it just felt like there was a lot happening here, which, like, I get.
Yeah.
Like, I get that this is, like, it's Enies lobby. It's, like, the big place. So, like, you'd expect it to be, like, guarded and have, like, a lot of people. But at the same time, like,
it's not like there's like it's just action, you know. It's not like I'm.
Yeah.
Look at the themes of this fight. Look at the themes of this fight. No, it's like I'm just like that's the thing that happened, you know. And so it's like it's not very discussion worthy.
All right, we need to run up the stairs. Zoro went the other way. He's going to the other stairs.
No, he didn't go up. No, that's a like if you look at the next panel or not the panel at the bottom of the page, it's actually just the floor. He's not going upstairs. And I wanted to point that out specifically. Because Zoro has an aversion of stairs because they killed Kuina. This is the first time it shows up, I think. But there's a couple other times later in the series of Zoro avoiding stairs, like very specifically, and it's kind of like it's funny, but it's also sad because like Kuina's death fucked him up so much that he just like he just instinctively avoids stairs. Like later on when he's trying to get to the top. He's like, instead of like finding stairs, he cuts his way through rooftops and climbs up. Like, the dude is fucked.
That's actually kind of sad.
Yeah, he's.
I didn't even notice that
so much. Mihawk is gonna fall down the stairs and then he's gonna have to kill the staircase that killed Mihawk to become the greatest swordsman in the world. No, yeah, that's how he'll overcome his trauma. Killing the stairs.
Mihawk, the power ceiling was too high, so Zoro.
Oh my god, could you imagine if Oda introduced a stare fruit and he had to fight Zoro? Like, I don't know how that would even work. Oda would make it work, like he'd be able to do escalator stuff or something, like, I don't know, it would be fucking ridiculous, but that's One Piece for you. I also want to mention, because before that, he does the charming demon Sleepless Night Onigiri, and his swords bend. I don't know what the fuck is up with that, okay? I told you Zoro's fighting style is weird. Like, I don't know what's going on there. And I've read, like, 500 more chapters of One Piece than you, and I still don't know what's going on there, so, yeah. I don't know. So anyway, now we can finally talk about Luffy versus Blueno. And, like, they've been fighting, like, I've been just glossing over it, because it's just, like, they'll just exchange a few blows. Luffy will get caught up by some door shit. You know, he did say that, like, you know, Blueno said, like, how long are you gonna really fight against government? And Luffy says he'll fight until he dies. And that definitely comes up at later, because there's an important point I want to talk about. But at least for this part, because he mentions outright that, you know, Aokiji beat him, and he's finally like the cocky, you know, asshole who's just who got his shit handed against Crocodile twice, because he wasn't taking him seriously. He finally realized that he needs to get stronger. And so here he is, getting stronger. Like, he's finally putting an effort. Like, that's the thing, is, like, again, he hasn't gotten, like, a meaningful strength increase throughout the whole series until now. But once he actually puts an effort, because he realizes, hey, I should put an effort, he's finally able to. And there's more to it. But, I don't know, what did you think about Gear 2 and the Blueno fight in general?
I did notice, like, right before Gear 2, the art in the little exchange there, like, when it first started, like, I didn't have anything really to say about the art because it looked like standard One Piece stuff. I don't know, like, the stuff before the Gear 2 reveal looks a little flat. Okay. Like, I'm specifically looking at this one panel where, like, Luffy's charging at Blueno, and there's just, like, a bunch of, like, what's the term? Like, a bunch of, like...
Fighting?
Fucking, what's it called? Like, the marks, like, impact marks. Okay. Like, you can tell, like, they're punching there. Mm-hmm. It just looks like something that, like... It's been such a long time since I've seen the Super Eye Patch Wolf One Piece video. He probably doesn't bring this up, but it looks like a panel that Eye Patch Wolf would put in one of his videos. It's like, oh, look at how the art decreases or something. Because it just looks kind of like flat and blur, like not blurry, but just like there's a lot of the little frames. I mean, whereas like. I don't know.
What I'm taking from that panel, it's the one where it's like gra and then kapow, whack, wham are the sound effects in the middle of that page, right? That one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, what I'm taking from it is, like, Luffy's, like, pushing him back, and I guess, like, so, and that's probably why it looks, like sketchier, I guess, like, there's more, because the motion he's trying to get across, I guess, but I see where you're coming from. because like that's what the impacts read to me, is that like they're from moments ago basically. So he's like, yeah. But anyway,
or maybe it's just that like the one guy is just wearing. Well, then again, I don't know. It's manga. It's all black and white. But like the one character is wearing like just the black suit thing, and like Luffy's even got like black.
Yes.
Like it was even pointed out that like Luffy's got like black shorts on or whatever.
Yes.
So like I don't know. It just seems not a lot of room for contrast, I guess.
That's fair, because you should
dating,
also
I don't know.
watch this fight in the anime, because they add in they make it a little longer, and it looks pretty cool of Luffy just beating the ever loving fucking shit out of Bluno. Because like, honestly, one of my favorite attacks in the series might be Jet Pistol, just because of how fucking cool it looks. Like I love how he puts his hand out to aim, and I also really like how he got across the speed of the attacks by just not drawing them. Like he just draws the impact; he doesn't even draw the hand anymore. So you got all the wind and the smoke and the steam from the. And it just looks really cool so it's just so him beating up Bluno is really cool. He just fucking destroys him. Well, because and like up to this, and I just like it's interesting to see in a post Dragon Ball like battle series, like you get a power up like we're 400 chapters in, Mathwiz. Like I'm just trying to think about that for a second, like. What was happening in, like, okay, I think Dragon Ball was in the Cell games, so Goku had already, they'd introduced Kaioken, Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan. Where were Bleach and Naruto at this point? I don't even fucking remember.
Naruto would have been, like, around Sasuke versus Itachi. So,
right,
like,
okay, yeah, so.
There's quite a bit there.
Right, not quite, like, Naruto had already used his Four Tails, and he was gonna get Sage Mode eventually. I don't know. Bleach would have been just towards the end of Arrancar, so Ichigo is about to get his, final Nangetsu against Aizen, and he'd already gotten like hollow forms and stuff, or his hollow mask. So it's like, yeah, but this is like, the first like form, anything resembling a form change or notable power increase period for Luffy. Like, Zoro suggested that they'd all been slowly getting stronger. But, like, it's just, like, was he, like,
there's never been a moment, like, a Shounen moment where it's like, oh, here's the drastic power-up.
Yes, or even just, like, a moment where it's, like, Luffy doing something he couldn't have done at the start of this. Like, when was the moment where he punched the Sea King that was obviously way bigger than the one in Chapter 1? Like, there was nothing like that where you say, like, yeah, Luffy's definitely gotten stronger. Until this moment where he fights Bluno for a while, he's not able to make any headway. He's just kind of fighting him evenly. Then he goes Gear 2 and he just fucking squashes him like a bug. So, you know what? Actually, now what's up?
I will say that the first panel, like as like the cliffhanger for Chapter 387, that's some iconography that I had obviously kind of seen before. I didn't know the context of it, but I just recognized the imagery.
Yes,
because like
Luffy.
Gear 2, it's a big thing.
Mm-hmm. Right, because it's like I said, it's a big character moment for Luffy because it's his first power up after Aokiji's defeat, and it's a cool pose. Though there is more, I guess going back to the power level discussion earlier, like Luffy did just beat Bluno with his power up, but we know for certain that like Bluno is way weaker than Lucci, so I guess there is some like tension keeping toward there because like obviously Lucci's the strongest, but. So I guess like after Bluno, you're like maybe how strong is no? Well, now we know we have power levels. So I'm still not satisfied with fully, but it's like I guess sure whatever. So yeah, I don't. Okay, so that's the end of that volume. Now on to the next one. So yeah, Luffy calls out to Robin. Everyone else is working their way up.
Well, no. Before that, we do see that he does his big jet bazooka, and Bluno's still standing, and he's like, oh, then I guess I'll have to show you something even more interesting, and then Bluno just collapses. So, like, is there more than Gear 2 here?
I didn't say anything earlier. No, you're not allowed to know.
But it was foreshadowing.
Right, so, and I'll definitely talk more about his gear, singular, next time. I love how Luffy, like, yells, and Spandam, like, falls away from the window, even though they're, like, there's, like, a chasm separating them, and Spandam's still afraid of Luffy. Anyway, so yeah, Frankie tells Robin that if she keeps turning away from her friends, they're not going to be able to save her. And we get... Oh yeah, Frankie tries to save Robin. Luffy's about to jump over, but Robin stops him.
She just wants to die, Craftsdwarf. Well, why can't Luffy understand that?
Robin! Oh man. So anyway, we get a bit more of all the other characters sort of fighting, and Luffy, Robin says she just wants to die, and Luffy's just like Phantom's like, oh man, I wish I could see his face, and he just like sticks his finger in his nose. He's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, he can't comprehend her desire to die. And then of course, like, as he's saying that, everyone slowly arrives, and you get the fucking
yes, the big spread of the
everyone fucking assembled. Oh, and and last chapter you had the similar one, Cypher Full 9. Ooh, it's good. It's good. and Luffy says, say it to our faces that you still want to die. And so then here's where Spandam being like him kind of matters, because he says, because he's like threatening to to push the Buster Call thing, because remember earlier he was like just admiring it in his office, and the guy came in and he was like, oh, you startled me, you shouldn't have done that, I might have pressed the button. Like, basically, Spandam doesn't have power, but he does wield power. Like, he doesn't understand power, because he doesn't he doesn't have it himself, nor has he really seen it. Like, like, as we find out, I think, during the flashback, maybe they mention it later. I swear they mentioned it during this chapters, though, because his dad was on the island as it was being attacked with the Buster Call, and he didn't get hit. So he's, like, basically he sees the Buster Call as the sort of absolute, like, destroy pirates button. And, like, so that's all it is to him. Whereas Robin, she saw the genocide of Alhara. She understands fully the power. And so that's kind of why it matters that Spandam is weak, I would say, because he doesn't have that perspective. He doesn't have any sort of perspective. He just wields power carelessly, and he's more dangerous than Robin, honestly. Like, they keep calling Robin dangerous, but she's just a woman in chains, and he's the one who fucking has the potential to destroy this island. Like, you saw what happened to O'Hara. Imagine that happened to Enies lobby if he just hit the button carelessly and destroyed a fucking government. Because that's the thing. It's just this indiscriminate force of justice there to eradicate the enemies of the world government, that an admiral had the authority to, give, and Spandam has that authority now. So it's like, fucking idiot. He doesn't get it. So, that's the thing I've been waiting to say about Spandam since the flashback. That's it. Did you have anything else to say, or shall we get into the flashback?
Well, before the flashback, just to draw it out even further.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do we want to talk about the cover arcs that have been going on?
Oh, shit! I forgot, because, the Baroque Works one, I believe, is still ongoing as far as this reading. And
it's such a good cover arc. Like, this Baroque Works one is fucking great. Like, you've got the return of so many characters.
Yes, Hina, Django, Full Body, and of course all the
you got Mr. 3 being the hero, going in and fighting Hina and like saving
yes,
so
Mr.
good.
Fucking 2, they're gonna save Miss Valentine. Also, I guess the Garasu one that's finished. Garasu landed on the Blue Sea. He found a dude. They started a hot spring. Vivi came to the hot spring, and Pell is there. Pell is alive, and Garasu is now a hot spring manager. That's it. That's all. Minor spoilers, this character, Garasu, has not shown up again. This is one of the cover stories that doesn't become relevant later. So it was just kind of there. Yeah. It's probably the weakest one, honestly. So I don't blame... What's up?
I like how for the one on chapter 390, where it's Mr. 3 showing all, or staring down Hina, and in the caption it says, "The Destined Showdown, Mr. 2 versus Black Cage Hina," even though on his clothes it says 3. The 3 is there.
You're right. But I didn't think about that.
They translated as Mr. 2, but it's Mr. 3.
Yep. So, because I guess after he did somehow... I'm guessing his crew was captured because he seems to be alone. But, yeah. Also, he looks different without his head thingies. Alright, so anyway, I think we'll talk about it fully next time, because I'll do my normal summary of it next time when it actually finishes, because I don't think it finished this stretch of chapters.
No, it's not done.
Okay, gotcha.
But I just remember freaking out when Mr. 2 appeared, and it was like, oh my god!
Yes!
The hero! He's back!
Alright, getting into the flashback, finally. So, right away, Robin's life just it fucking sucks. She's living with her aunt. Her aunt treats her like shit. She's bullied by the other children. And she wants, and like we see with her seeing the other kid who's with their parents, like she wants a family more than anything else. And like, cause it's like Nami's arc definitely like had a lot of the familial aspect too, but this is where it really just fucking like it hurts me. Oh man.
What I think is interesting is that we first see Robin in this flashback already with the devil fruit, so it does kind of make me wonder how she got it in the first place.
Which is yeah, it's definitely interesting because she just already has it and it's helpful. Like she's washing dishes with it, but devil fruits don't bring happiness. So, oh man. But she does have like, it's not like she's completely alone because she's got the scholars, and you know she passed the exam, and she thinks that because she passed the exam, she can help them with the poneglyph. But her fucking face, like the way Oda draws her like bottom lip as she's like about to cry, like especially the one where she's like, you have enough knowledge to make you a scholar, but you're still a child. Like that one, really, like I just like the way he drew her face, her expression there.
No.
Just look at that poor girl. Well, because it's like tried so hard to get the license as an archaeologist because she wants to be she wants to be part of that family, that group, that passionate group. But like they rejected her, even though she put in so much effort because it's dangerous. And now, so it's like, no, she's not part of that family. Is what I guess is what she sort of took from that, and she's sad. Robin, so she's fucking Oda. He drew her to be so fucking cute. I hate it. Because it's so... no, I don't hate it. It's just too much for me. But yeah, she runs away. And she runs into a giant called Saul. He's wearing a cowboy hat. Robin used to wear a cowboy hat.
Oh, I didn't even realize the connection.
Well, it's like, I could have had an interesting point there. Well, because it's like... I forget if I mentioned this to you before. But, you know how in Arlong, Nami, Luffy put the hat on Nami. He's like saying, you're basically a crew member of mine, right? Do you remember in Whiskey Peak how Robin stole the hat? How she forced herself onto the crew later? So, yeah. Well, I actually had a similar hat-related point because, like, she wore the hat in Skypiea, but then she didn't afterwards, and Skypiea was the arc where she sort of, like, truly became, a Straw Hat, so I had the idea that maybe, like, the hat is, like, that would involve, like, that involves going all the way to the end, but, like, what does Saul say later is, like, no one is born into this world, you'll find those who will protect you. So when she does finally find those, she loses the hat, which is her connection to her past. But I realized that was wrong because there's actually another point later where she does wear the hat again, so I was looking too deeply into it. But anyway, yeah, it's still like she connects to Saul. He tells her to laugh because look at her blush after he tells her she's cute. Oh my god. But yeah, apparently it's even though she does connect to this mysterious giant, and she accidentally tells him about a connection to Olvia, the scholar who he has a past with, and O'Hara, which is now become under government investigation. Olvia, like everything just happens to coincidentally happen at the same time, but it's all really good, so it's fine, and I don't care. We get a flashback within a flashback of Olvia leaving on her journey to and young Robin crying. So, have you had any thoughts yet, or shall I continue?
No, this is your flashback. You keep going.
Okay, gotcha. Aokiji, we see him as a vice admiral. Yeah, because I guess. Oh yeah, one thing because we got the names last time: Aokiji, Aka-inu, and Kizaru. Kiji is pheasant, Zaru is monkey, and Inu is dog. It's a reference to Momotaro, Peach Boy, the legend, because he teams up with a monkey, a pheasant, and a dog. And so they're code names basically, and Kuzan was his real name before he became the blue pheasant Aokiji. So, and later on we see Sakazuki, who later becomes Admiral Aka-inu, who we have not seen in the actual story yet. But yeah, the government comes in. Robin has to deny that she's an archaeologist because otherwise she'll be killed. Olvia tries to kill Spandine, who's Spandam's dad, but that is also random future SBS trivia. But the guy with the glasses is Khalifa's dad. Not that it really matters or anything. But there's some blood in Cyberpole. So one thing I'm definitely curious as to your thoughts on was because they find the poneglyph and Clover gives his theory to the elders regarding the Void Century. What did you think about that? That like massive history lore dump where we're kind of finally learning a little bit more about it. Like, I guess not massive, but did you have any thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, we'd already seen that, the world government was kind of scum in this universe. Apparently something happened in history that they don't want people to know, and it also conveniently lines up with the birth of the world government.
Sneaky fuckers. Well, and the part I really like about it, because it's like, he's about to reveal the name of the ancient civilization, which we don't get at all. We don't get, but like, what I find interesting is if you look at on the page that Clover gets shot in, because the Elder orders his death, then in the bottom like left corner you see that he's the Elder, but he's got like his palm on his forehead. Like there's something, it's like grief almost, like or not, maybe not grief, but definitely some sort of like he's not happy to do this, like. Because, like, and you also saw that in the Frankie flashback where Spandam was telling the elders, like, about how they gotta get the blueprint, and they're, like, kind of like, well, I don't know what we're gonna do with it, but, like, the elders aren't, like, completely evil, at least. Like, those two scenes have given me the sense that, like, they're doing what they're doing because they feel obligated to. We obviously don't know what they're doing, but they're not, like, horribly corrupt like we've seen a lot of, like, other government guys do. Like, these guys are just, like, they're at the top and they're doing bad things because they believe it's the thing that's most right. But like even here, they're like he's ordering the massacre of the archaeologists, but he's not like Spandam would be happy to do this, like because he's a fuckhead, But and even Spandine's like, oh yeah, Buster Call, boom, let's go. But like the elders aren't so that or at least that elder isn't so happy about it. So I always thought that reaction was interesting.
So kind of like someone like a Madara who is like, oh, I'm doing this because the
yeah.
I'm
he
saving the
revel
world.
in the evil of it. He just does it because he feels it's the most right thing to do, and that makes sense. Like the government is order. Like they're the biggest opposers to the pirates, to the pirate age, and they're causing so much shit because there's so many. But the governments do put a stop on that, so it's reasonable to assume that the government is. Needed, but at the same time, they cause so much shit that it's not really that simple. So,
oh no.
And then we get the first. Okay, like, see, this is the thing. Is like this whole like last half of the volume. It made me cry like a bitch again. And like the first part that got me is like when Robin's like. She sees Olvia.
Is that you, Mother? And she's like, no, I don't want you to be attached to a criminal. And she's like, no,
are you my mom?
Mistaking me.
Oh God! And she can't. And even though Olvia tries to, and she like keeps trying, and Olvia like can't fucking take it, and I can't fucking take it. Well, because like the moment that really gets me, that ties into that is like, well, because like after that, they hold hands, and she's like, I always wanted to do this, and like. Saul's trying to take her away, and Robin wants to stay with Olvia no matter what. Like, the island is being destroyed around them. Like, they're going to die, and yet Robin, like, would rather die and have a few more seconds with her mother than live. It's like, because she wants family that badly. She would, like, But, Olvia is kind of forcing her to inherit the will of, the archaeologists. She is the future of the world, so she's the one who needs to be saved. And we also get a bit of Saul, because he was the one who freed Olvia, and she, he's the one having doubts about the government, the systems. And Sengoku, who if you remember from the meeting with the warlords, he has an afro, apparently, and the afros were in style 20 years ago, I guess, or 10 years ago, however long ago this was. But, well, because, like, Saul's trying to question it, and he's like, give me proof that the archaeologists are evil, and Sengoku's just like, follow the government's orders, like, Saul's too good to be a Marine is the issue. He has, like, morals and a personal code that goes against that of the government. So, yeah. And he's just so cool, like, because I don't know if you remember, but when Robin was, they mentioned how she got her bounty, she supposedly took out Marine battleships. But now we find out how those battleships actually got taken out. Because it was...
Yeah.
Saul fucking... I love the page of him just lifting the battleship. Like, he's a giant. this battleship is still way bigger than him, and he just doesn't give a fuck. He just fucking tosses it, and it fucking into another one. Motherfucker. He's awesome. Did they give his full name? Because he's more than just Saul. But I swear they said it. They must have said it sometime, right?
I do not remember.
Because I don't want to spoil it if they didn't give it, but there's an observation. Yeah, they just call him Vice Admiral Saul, I guess. But they must have said his full name at some point. Should I spoil it, is what I'm wondering. It's not a big spoiler, so I'm just going to spoil it because it's interesting. Do you remember when Robin saved Luffy from the quicksand and gave him his hat, and she asked, why do those of you with the D
Oh, no,
fight?
that's right. That's definitely in here. It was,
Okay,
it was way back when they first met, and it was like something D Saul or whatever.
Yes, Jaguar D Saul, yes. So now we know why she knows about the D initial, because she met this giant, so... Ugh.
So it's not just humans, the giants are also in on this mystery.
Yeah, that's definitely pretty weird, because again, there's still things that have not been answered about that. But yeah, also I love how the scholars, like, save the books by throwing them into the lake. Though, especially, like, because this is mentioned in the SBS later, but if you look at the panels of the books being thrown, you'll see one of the books is called Bragmen, and that's the book that Nami had. She had information on Little Garden from that book. So in other words, the scholars, because they saved information, helped Nami out during Little Garden because they gave her little information on the giants, but when she needed it. So small little connection there. But yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, Robin, she's trying to escape, and she tries to go to the evacuation ship, but they turn her away because she's a monster. Oh, and the little panel of her just, like, with her arms, like, and she's, like, crying, like, as if she hasn't been doing enough of that all day. And then, okay, well, not actually right after that, but, oh yeah, they tell her not to let her onto the ship, and while Kuzan's fighting, Aokiji's fighting Saul, and then the evacuation ship is destroyed, and we find out it was future Admiral Akainu, aka Sakazuki. And so I want to point out a contrast here between him and Lucci that I think is kind of interesting, because, like, they're both kind of, like, they both will kill innocents to do, like because Cypherpole 9, like, Fukuro and them, they killed, like, all the guys who heard the secrets. And what I think is, like, kind of, like, obviously, like, because, like, basically their ideas of justice are very similar, but, like, the difference is in intent. Whereas, like, because Akainu, he's like, he felt the need to. He's kind of going above and beyond there. Like, he's like, what if Robin isn't, like, even the only issue. He's like, what if an archaeologist got on that boat? Like, then this whole mission would be a waste. So he's just kill all the civilians. Like, that's just, it's what the government kind of wants, but probably doesn't have the gumption to actually order it. So it's like, basically, well, because, like, his style of justice would be called absolute justice, and I think that's what's kind of terrifying, because, like, absolute justice, like, the sort of, like, the reason the Marines exist is actually worse than Lucci's dark justice, because Lucci just, like, he wants just to kill, so he just does his orders. Akainu goes above and beyond the orders, and Aokiji's like, what the fuck? Like, Saul even, like, he's like, how can that be justice? Yeah.
He, like, blew up a ship of, they were evacuating, like, they were the innocents, and he's like, nope, but they might be among them, so we have to kill them all.
Right, and, but that's the thing, he didn't get, like, demoted for that. He's an admiral now. He eventually got a promotion. Like, this is something that the government ultimately either ignores at best, like, or rewards at worst. Is like, but they don't condemn it at all. Like, this is horrible, and yet he's not condemned at all. So, like, if in case you needed more evidence as to why the government's fucking shit in One Piece, the world government, it's just, yeah. So that was the thing I want to mention, the contrast between the two. But yeah, so anyway, Saul gets frozen by Aokiji and is able to give his last words to Robin that no one in this world is born alone and that she should find her comrades. But and Aokiji. So, what did you think about that? Aokiji letting Robin live.
See, yeah, that's definitely interesting. And I'd be kind of curious to go back and read the back end of the Davy Back thing to just see how that recontextualizes their interactions in the first place. Because, like, here he even says that, I've decided to let you escape from this island, but in the future, if you attempt to do anything, I'm not your ally. I will come after you.
Right.
I'll be the first one to come after you.
Like, the way I see it is that he's kind of agreeing with, like, Frankie and Tom's ideology in that, like, existing is not a crime. He's giving her the chance to do something good or do something evil. If she does something bad, he will stop her, but, and I think that's also part of why, he didn't kill Luffy, because Luffy went out of his way to save her. Like, so, she's obviously not all bad if, like, a guy who really has, like, Luffy's not, like, he knows that Luffy's decent, like, he beat Crocodile. So, like, yeah, I think that's part of it, because, like, Luffy connected to her, so maybe she's not all evil. Like, he's very hesitant, and he's willing to, like, he's more moral than, obviously, someone like Sakazuki. So, but at the same time, he's still justice, so, he gives that threat. And then she's sailing away, and she laughs. No. Oh, God. And then you get the montage of young Robin surviving. I like the bit where he's like, we couldn't go after her because the ship rudder was like it was frozen. And Aoki was just like, oh shit.
Well, no, yeah, he does that kind of like face palm because he's like, what have I done? But he's also
I think I sort of thought he was like
conflicted. He's torn.
See, I don't know. I kind of figured he's like, please don't notice that I helped her. I thought that's kind of what I figured. Like he's just like, don't pay attention to me, please. I'm covering my face because I need to. Like, that's kind of what I interpreted.
It could be that
too. But it's fine. But yeah, we see her sort of like just go through her life, just constantly being betrayed by everyone she tries to reach out to.
This old lady who's like, thank you so much for helping me out. It's like, by the way, you have some visitors. And it's like, fuck you.
Yeah, and then there's like the dad who's like, she's a good girl, but if we let her stay, we'll be in danger. And then the pirates who are like, yeah, we're both wanted. And nope, she's a cursed girl. And like, and of course it ends with Crocodile. A nice little bit. So yeah, any final thoughts on the flashback? Because I guess, see, with me, it's like, maybe if I looked at it just as a flashback, then maybe it's not my favorite, but it's like, because I cried twice, but it's like the moment that really gets me is right after the flashback, and I guess I mentally kind of count those as the same, because it's so, oh god, we're still getting there.
Well,
so.
no, it is good characterization for Robin, because
yes.
like we understand how she got to this point, and again, like I like the way that she is connected to the theme that was established in the previous flashback with, the potential for destruction, and how, like, a person can be, like, a form of a weapon.
And there's also, I guess, a bit of a link between, like, because, like, information and knowledge. Because it's like, Clover doesn't, he's, like, he doesn't see the past, the Void Century, as, like, dangerous. He just wants to know it so that future generations can have that knowledge. But the government does see it as danger. Like, is knowledge a weapon? And then all that applies there, too. If we know it, is it bad? And and of course, going by Frankie and Tom's ideologies, no, knowledge is in how it's used, not that it exists in the first place. Like, the knowledge isn't wrong for existing, yet the government wants to cover it all up. So, right. So anyway, Robin, insists that the Buster Call will destroy everything if it's used, and that the Straw Hats can't possibly deal with that, and that if they stay with her, they'll Robin will just still eventually want to cast her aside. And Svanhaven's like, yeah, look at that symbol, it represents the unity of all of our nations, you can't stand up to that. And Robin, and Luffy's like, hey, Sniper King, shoot down that flag.
Shoot down the flag.
And yes. He just, like, Usopp the coward, without hesitation, takes down that flag. Oh, and then, I love Spandown's like, are you crazy? You think you could survive with the world as your enemy? And Luffy's like, bring it on! I'm just like, yes! Oh, and then...
It's so good.
This whole fucking exchange. Then Luffy asks if she wants to live, and then we get all the flashes to all the lines. And, well, like, one bit that gets me is, like, because Robin's like, I didn't think I could wish for that. Like, she didn't think she would be allowed to live. Like, and then the other part is, like, at the end of that page, she's like, if it's okay to make a little wish, like, because she has had no value in her life up to this point. She's just been, like, she's been nothing. She's been this tumor on everyone's existence who she's touched. But then, like, Luffy's willing to bear that, the burden of her existence. He's willing to go up against the whole world to save her. And this is, like... this is my favorite moment on all of fiction. My eyes are starting to water right now. Fuck.
No, it's a really good moment. It's amazing.
Oh my god, it's so fucking good. Like the build up, like every single like one of those panels of all the of her, her existence as crime and like the lines of other characters and Luffy just being willing to stand up against the whole fucking world. Oh, it's all so fucking good. I love this so much. Just fucking hits. Oh man, so good. Oh shit. And I almost regret having more to read because it's just such a good like moment, but the next chapter is a better cliffhanger. I forget if I even have anything to say. It just hits me emotion. Like, okay, here's the thing. In my One Piece video Beyond Blood, I used that clip from the anime, and so while editing the video, I had to watch that clip several times.
Oh no.
I was in tears 90 to 95% of that time, I swear. Like, I watched this scene over and over again, and I could not stop crying every fucking time. I was, like, to time it with the audio and the music. It ruins me every time. Like, I can't. Oh, man. Like, because I had the footage, so there were a couple other moments I watched. Like, I watched, like, Nami stabbing her arm and asking Luffy to help her, and some stuff from later, and those made me cry. But this one, like, just the way just every fucking time.
All right, I can't wait to watch this Beyond Blood video and just cry my eyes out.
Yeah, I got people to cry from it, which is great. One person admitted that they cried from that moment that I used, and they hadn't even seen or read One Piece. Just from how I like present it in the video, Robin's flashback, because that's what it's like, because the video is called The Familial Themes of One Piece, and that's what it is. It's Robin finally admitted like the Straw Hats are her family, and she's just finally deciding to stay with that family, and because that family is here fighting for her, and it's so fucking good. Oh my god. Okay, so moving on. The drawbridge is lowering. The Straw Hats and the Cipher Poles are ready to fight. Because I guess there's one sort of capping off the flashback, I'd say, because like the whole thing with the blueprints was they needed to exist because as long as the government could potentially unleash the weapon because Robin was alive, then someone would need to build Pluton so that they could defeat the government, counter the weapon with another weapon. But but Frankie he decides to make a bet on the Straw Hats, because he's sort of like Robin doesn't want to activate the weapon, she just is being forced to. So yeah. It's good. Frankie's and he cries when his comrades are there. And then the Rocket Man makes the jump as they sail to Enies' lobby, and that ends the stretch of chapters. I just completely described everything. Did you have anything to say on that final post-flashback stuff?
The bit about the using the blueprint as a counterbalance, that if that hadn't been stated, it would have felt kind of weird that
he was destroying it, or
no, that Iceberg was protecting it in the first place, because Iceberg was the one who had said as long as there is a potential for something to be destructive, then it must be erased. But here he was protecting this blueprint which has the potential to destroy the world, but it makes sense that as long as Nico Robin exists.
Right, well, because it's not like the blueprint is there to destroy the world. It's there's a safeguard to avoid the world being destroyed in case the government decides to fire their weapon, basically. So, honestly, there's definitely a few ways you could read this whole arc as a nuclear war thing, or just gun control in general. I don't know the author's thoughts on it. It's all there though if you want to dig into that. I'm not so political about that though.
I did talk to you about this before, so I will say it on the podcast as well, that this is the first, as I was reading it, I was able to pick up on the themes that I think are going here, and obviously I don't know where it's going to go because I still have to read the third act, as I'm calling it. But yeah, this is probably the first thing that if I'm going to make a One Piece video, this is the first thing I'm thinking of right now, just because. Yeah,
that would be less One Piece videos I have to make. Oh man, and no, that'd be great. So yeah, would you say is this your favorite stretch of chapters so far? Or does it have? Well, because it's still got some iffy parts that aren't as great. But it's also got some really interesting stuff, and the moment at the end after the flashback is still my favorite moment in all fiction. So personally,
Yeah, that moment didn't get the same emotional reaction out of me, at least, like, you know. I mean, like, I do really like the moment, and, like, I like what it stands for. It really, like, sheds a whole new light on Robin's character, because, like, especially, like, you've got the flashback here, and you just, like, see, you know, her complete, like, lack of, I don't know if it's, like, necessarily a lack of self-worth, but, like, you know, all the experiences in her life, like, it makes sense that she would feel like she can't exist because, like, everything in her life has kind of indicated that.
Like, when you think about it, like, Skypia, like, the parties and stuff were probably some of the most fun she's ever had in her life. Like, of course she connects to the Straw Hats, you know? But, like, Robin's life is suffering.
So I feel like, because I'm kind of interested in, I mean, I've talked to you about it before as well, that, like, I'm interested in these more, like, the way that some of these stories can present, like, or even not, like, if that's not what they're directly going for, but how certain characters can be read as, like, a representation of, you know, just anxiety or just characters being insecure about certain things. And I definitely think that Robin is another interesting example of that, because, I mean, like, she is a major character. The Straw Hats are basically all main characters, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have a whole lot to really say on that at present. Yeah, the moment didn't make me as emotional as, you know, the end of Alabasta where they all put their arms up.
That's another good one.
But
which
yeah,
is also the thumbnail of that video, mind.
Yes.
So yeah, they're both.
But no,
great.
this was really good, and you know, I was like, I knew that people really liked Robin, and I was like, well, because here I hadn't really known much about Robin. I was like, oh well, hopefully this flashback isn't gonna sway me like a you know, like an easily manipulated. I don't know. Because I was here like, no, Nami's pretty good, but then like this Robin flashback happened. I'm like, oh no, I see why people like Robin a lot.
Yeah, it's really good. Oh man. So yeah, like Great Stitch chapters, we're almost done with the arc. Again, we're gonna be doing it next week because scheduling. What stretch chapters are we reading? I ask myself as I check our page. Chapters 400 to 441. So less chapters than this time, but there's gonna be a lot of fights, and then there's gonna be the after arc stuff, which is also got some stuff going on. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for listening, and we will see you next week for the rest of this. Yeah. Goodbye.